something. Oh,
I don't have horses.
no horses?
Good evening.
Live ones at least.
Guys cleaning, like stripping and doing floors. I've had the hardest time getting people to, I've gotten a couple of quotes and I cannot get the guys to even call me back after they,
There's so much work out there that
These chairs,
it's crazy.
thank goodness.
Very nice
chairs.
well, the floors in here. They need stripped and, guy, I can't remember the name of the company, they came in and did it this December last year, they did the floors for the library and the carpets, and said, hey, do you want to quote on the floors? And at the time, we spent all of our budget for last year, I said, yeah, I'll do it this year.
But I don't,
I've been back and forth with that same group.
so he's gonna be listening.
Holy wise.
Damn.
That's not wrong.
So it's not the one that got away?
Devils. North Dakota? Yeah.
Bass or striper?
Yep. Couple northerns.
I don't think so. Well, who knows? That's been.
Man.
Karen.
This
How are you?
Nice
I
table.
am fine.
What's that?
I'm over setting up poles over at Lake Street Methodist.
Oh, why?
You're working over by town, or city?
You're out there right
Because I
now.
can't,
Well, no,
because I'm always on the ballot here.
No, you,
So I have to do the streets.
yeah.
So yeah, I work at the Lake Street
I
Methodist.
see in the drawing there
poles.
was extrication tools, which maybe we can use.
Yeah, so they've had
Ideally, we want to get
they've had a
there.
couple of good days.
There's a lot of Lutherans, a lot of Catholics.
There's some young people. I would say the.
Oh, you been doing any good or?
They paid that the last thing anyway.
So
No,
I
that's
was
me.
Yeah,
I was more.
I know,
as much as I can.
I'm not,
in
I don't know
But I-
how they do it.
we'd have to make a decision though, but it might be worth it.
Got seven
Baptist
for
predominantly
cheaper
the one.
than
Yeah.
last Saturday.
Yeah. Well,
That was a
yeah,
predominant.
maybe
Nice
Some
ones
version
or-
of Southern
if it
Baptist,
doesn't cost us pretty.
but some
Didn't
version
win.
of Baptist
Didn't
is
win.
predominant.
Might as well just
But
keep
probably
No.
the first or second was the
But
Methodist.
we got our
Maybe
fish.
down to
And that's after what we did it.
They were,
Little Dan?
we got 13 pounds,
They had.
I got a half an hour presentation.
17 pounds more. Big bass. Yeah.
Incredible amount.
There's some monsters in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to reach.
We got a bunch of
That's
crappie
what's
again.
the times with those Methodist
Big
big
ones.
wings and their outreach.
This big, like, yeah, like dinner plates.
Drug draws
Yeah.
into it.
Fifteen Baptist people who were just.
Necessarily see that.
I've caught
The one I saw was
crappies
the
up
same
there.
perfect.
There's a lot of really good. But
There's,
just-
there's like, you always got some ringers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what. we're
Yeah,
doing.
it doesn't matter what group you're in.
Must be about a number four, 3 or 4 fella. That's what we were catching them on, man.
Yes, I
It was a
am
husky
ready for
church.
tomorrow.
Husky
I-
church.
Yes, so I have a week's break if I win, I'm
It
giving
would just
myself
be
a
like
week
all of a
off
sudden-
before I start the
They
second
wouldn't-
phase.
Sometimes you can snag them right away because they're
Yeah,
thermal.
I'll go down to
Sometimes,
Madison.
sometimes
Madison,
it
Madison,
feels like you
next
hit a weed
Tuesday.
or something.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're reeling, you
If I
feel
win
like
the
a little
primary,
tap
I
and
win
you're
the
like,
primary, yeah.
That'll be somebody else.
Somebody else will go down and they won't be able to get Prince or
tournament,
something.
but we were fishing, we were running big whitetails, running warriors up there one time. Oh, man.
I thought this was a safe. I mean, it was already.
No shit, they were running, I mean, these 15, 16 ounce bass are freaking bait.
You just
Yeah,
had
this
like
This
They
is,
just, it, you
this
did
is,
it up there and they just
primary
impaled it
test,
and you'd be like,
Nate,
come on, you little guy. But
I figured that was it, but.
I remember
but
fishing
this
for a
is-
tournament out there,
This
so
is the one
any
where I had
catches
to
up
do
is
the
better
outdoor
than
bass.
that. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the tournaments being over actually, to go fishing.
You don't want those, because you can lose.
What happened to our chairs? That's what we got. It's not treated possibly.
Yeah,
Um,
but when you guys get too long-winded, I could put my head against this one. Now I'm gonna be staring at the ceiling.
There's truth to that.
But can't you hear me adjusting?
You just gotta go Cliff Notes.
Every
Cliff Notes.
remote meeting
Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
I've ever listened to, it's been like,
So I say, I'm kind of disappointed I'm not at home for this one.
Oh,
'cause
look at the
it's-
squeaky chair. Oh, I'm so
I'm
happy
disappointed I'm not
about these
listening
chairs.
to
that we have
this.
one
Oh,
in
no.
the historical site. We are not
am I wrong about that?
No, that mic picks
I
up,
can't
so
even
yeah,
imagine.
it's funny.
Right, it's sitting right
They're
there.
gonna tell
Yeah,
you
it's
if
just, I don't know
try
what
to
it is, that
get-
sound, but man, it resonates.
Yep.
Well, and they said they were going to say, well, that's,
Yeah, so they don't,
that's okay.
Yeah,
so,
that's
I don't know,
it's just-
Burnham, no, wait,
I don't know.
Luther wants one for the Lions. He said he wants one to be head for the Lion King, I guess, I don't know.
But I don't know what else.
Makes sense as a line, keep kind of throwing it high back. I really like them, I think they're neat chairs, but they're not This is.
How's it going?
I like these much better. What's the matter?
To just
I need employees.
What's poorly?
I need employees.
Oh, you need
Yeah.
employees.
What do you do?
Yes,
Fix
you would
cars.
sign.
I heard so does
That's
the
a skill
IRS.
set.
And
Yeah.
you do.
The
not need
IRS?
to do this.
Yeah, they need 80,000.
Yeah, 87,000.
6,000.
You're gonna
Is it
put the
87,000?
same-
86,680.
Just take 2 or
IRS
3.
force.
So like, you know.
They will be
Yeah, but you
bigger
want
than
ASC
Homeland
certified.
Security, yeah, bigger than.
I do.
So.
Don't even get me started.
I read an article though.
For your spouse and two there, so
AR.
there's-
It would take somebody that could just make sure filters and lug nuts got tight.
Well, my heart sank when I heard about the bill.
Somebody who could,
But then the article that came out this
change
morning
the
said
oil and rotate tires without
the
screwing
oil
up.
IRS has
back
been
in.
at 34% of their fill rate.
Yeah, I had one,
They can't get enough
I had
people.
one guy leave,
So it's just
three to
like-
pasture supposedly.
So,
And then,
She can't get any people. She's
one of the other
so they
people,
can hire
I-
as many people as they want,
last Monday, I just,
or as they could get.
You know,
Time
you
full.
make-
it
Where there's a whole.
just had to be done, so it was unfortunate.
What do you see
If
for
their,
wages?
if their high rate is currently at 34%,
Um,
meaning they've only been filled
Anywhere
35%.
from about 25 to 35.
They're-
It's just unreal. I was talking with Waste Management, $25 an hour for somebody who doesn't know how to drive a truck.
Maybe it'll take
Or,
them
you
a couple
know,
years to get this.
$25 an hour.
This is yours.
And they'll teach you, you know.
I'm bad at that. Yep.
Out 2 years.
My top guy's getting paid 35 plus bonus. You know,
Mhm.
so he's
Oh, I get two.
75 a year.
Wages are just-
Thank you.
And you have, how many open positions?
I would take 2 guys for sure, the other shop would take 1.
Yeah.
If I could, I'd take 3. I'm actually shipping work to the other shop because I can't get it done as fast. I collected a bunch of corporate commercial accounts, and those people need their vehicles, and I can't turn them fast enough, so I'm actually sending them to the retail shop because I can't turn them fast enough. Which,
Is
I
a
mean,
problem long-term.
we're one umbrella, but that doesn't make my dollar look very good at the end of the month when I'm giving away all the work to somebody, you know. It's still good for the business, but we're both so
Not good-
short-handed.
Not good for yours.
Not good for, not good for my bottom line.
Yeah.
Convention Estates, you
But
said you're not part of
it
it.
is what it is.
I have somebody else called me, I said
Even if I leave at 1, I'll be here at 1.
Sounds great, thank you.
But I wanna vote for you, because I'm voting. As well as zip through. And I'm electronic.
Yes, yes.
Recording
I've done
in
that.
progress.
The machine is a machine, right?
really just kidding about that, right?
Oh, you got a problem? Here you go, here you go. Let me start highlighting the people. This is who you should talk to.
The lady I talked to said, we only got 30.
You know, you go to some of those businesses and they got like a fish bowl in the front where you throw your card in and then you can win like a dinner or something. I need a stack of these. Draw number.
I'll bet.
Supposed to be knocking on doors and trying to. Tires, 4 months, and sometimes.
We've been so
Sitting in
damn
front of the computer.
and short. I haven't got.
Okay, it's 6:02, I think we'll get started. It's a regular village board meeting and Inland Lake annual meeting tonight. The Inland Lake is listed at 7:45 PM. So we'll start the regular village board meeting, do a roll call.
Aylesworth,
Here?
Goodman,
Yes.
Hervison,
Yes.
Hurd, here, Cots, Mattoon,
Here.
Rapp.
Here. All right, quorum, pledge of allegiance.
Silent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Certified open meeting law requirements have been met.
A notice of the meeting and the agenda was posted in the 3 public places and the newspapers were notified.
All right, number 5 is the adopt agenda. I guess Penny does, be looking for a motion and second unless somebody has some re-numbering or something else they want.
Motion
or-
to adopt.
Second.
Motion to second. Any comments or questions on the agenda? All right, seeing none, all in favor of adopting agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, ayes have it. recognition of visitors or citizen input. So this is the time in the meeting if somebody from community or anybody else would like to speak, this is kind of your time to do that.
Guess I'll raise my hand.
Yeah, if
Come
you
on
could
up.
state your name and address.
Sure, I'm Dean Mischke. I live at 903 East Randall, which is over in the last house on the south side of town on the east side.
Okay.
So, and what I'd like to do is just raise an awareness to the council regarding broadband funding availability and ask the question if the council is looking at taking advantages of that. And this is a topic near and dear to my heart. I don't know if you know who I am or not, but I work for Finley Engineering. And we design broadband networks across the United States and nationwide. And so it's our key strength, let's put it that way. And 99% of it now is all fiber-based. And I live in a broadband network. I'm a network engineer designing this stuff, and I'm stuck at 10-1. And probably won't see much chance of going past that. My wife was ill last week. I had to work from home, if you want to call it that. So when the council has time, I'd be very willing to come back and talk about funding availabilities. This is nothing to present or promote my field of work. It is more a function to make the council aware that there may be options and availability for providing a stronger broadband package throughout the community.
Okay,
Great.
thanks, Dean. Yeah, that's good information. I know we have been,
Put that in.
people looking at grants. We've had, the administrator's been calling some of the broadband providers, and the League of Municipalities has been putting out some information on it too, but anything's helpful in trying to figure out what avenue
How can we get
who to
fiber
go
here?
with, and yeah, and all the mechanics to go with it, because it's kind of a confusing as who can do what and who has rights to do what, or, yeah.
So we work with a lot of municipalities, like I said, nationwide, and help them find ways to get it. Now, this, like I said, this is something I would be willing to donate to the community because I am very interested in the community having a broadband presence.
I think
Okay.
I gotta make a comment here. Dean is really being downplaying his role. He is the executive, what is your official position? You're at 3-state area, you cover, he's like top of the list, and he has already spent an hour and a half talking to me about broadband, because it's a problem all throughout our county as well as Clark County. And so, I mean, this is a tremendous resource that we can, he knows all the grants, he knows everything, he knows it's like the back of his hand.
I wouldn't say I know everything, but I know where to find a lot of things.
Yeah.
And who do
Yeah.
you work for again?
A company called Finley Engineering.
Thank you.
It's one of those firms you never hear of, but we.
Does everything.
No, we specialize in broadband networks design implementation. If you drive throughout the area,
Uh-huh.
if you see fiber-fed facilities, Oliva, Strum,
Yep.
Durand, Bloomer, those are all my designs.
Nice.
Yeah, and,
Wonderful.
yeah, I don't know if we'll have to start with the committee, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
it
something.
would be great if we could start it in committee, because Dean can, if he's willing, if you're willing to volunteer your time, Dean, that would be fantastic, because this is something that the state is interested in. Kathy Bernier, Senator Bernier is working on this, and we've got all kinds of state funding that's coming in that we can look at, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that Public Works? Would that be Public Works Committee?
No, it's not really a utility or anything that we manage.
Community relations?
You wanna
could do
stick it
public-
under
You could do it
community
in Public
late?
Works, or you could do it under public finance. But I guess you could do it on any of the three, it doesn't really matter.
Put it in community relations, let me have it, Tim.
Yeah, community relations. Could do that too. Could be any.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah, we can do that, we'll put a committee and get started within
I love it.
with a week or so. I know, like I said, we've been trying to shake the trees a little bit, but it's, you know, like I said, it's hard to get the information, so if you're willing to help out, I think it's a big thing, and it's good for the village too, I guess, to, well, it's gonna potentially draw people in. I know when I've looked for houses and other people have looked for houses, and the trend to work from home, it's definitely something people are looking at. You know.
One of the statistics we ran across, and so I didn't quite truly believe it until I started working with some of the realtors, and they say having fiber today at your house adds about $5,000 minimum to the value of the house.
Easily.
But probably more importantly is it adds 100% desirability.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that if I was to move into the community today, I would probably be in Oliva or Strong or Bloomer, simply because of the availability of broadband.
So did we get your phone number?
I have it, I have it.
I'll call Karen
Okay.
to call you.
Sheena Cost is here too. Okay.
So we'll call you.
Yeah, and,
Okay, all right, that
yeah,
sounds
we'll,
good.
we'll be in touch, Dean, and we'll start with the committee and hopefully in short order within a week or two, just,
Yeah.
something to good, move fast on. You know, government does move fast, but, you know, if we can move it faster, I guess it'd be a good thing.
Well, in the next year to a year and a month will be when you start to see availability of funding that would apply to municipalities with the BEAD program, if you want to go look that up. Broadband Economic Development Program. That is a federally funded program, and previously, most of the programs had been oriented towards rural, underserved and unserved. But these funds will become available to just about any area that is underserved or unserved.
That was gonna be my question,
Yeah.
because we have like 95% coverage under the coax currently, which is better than nothing, but it's not fiber.
Well, I-
That's one of the things I've run into, is our coverage with the coax.
Yeah.
It has to be your CLEC provider, right? That's what it goes to. And underserved would be 10 meg or lower, right?
So right now, the current definition is 25.3.
Yeah, that's good.
Most of the new programs coming out are looking at a minimum of 120.
Yeah.
And I would have to do some research within this system, but I would not believe that it's capable of 120.
It's not according to, well, I guess
And I can go check all the maps. As a matter of fact, we download them for the entire United States, so.
And you said
Probably
a year
some
from now,
of this
the
Yes.
money
It's a
will
little
be
bit too much.
available? A year?
Yeah.
That's when the program funds will probably be released, but if you don't have a plan in place
Q&A.
prior to that point, you'll miss the
Community
boat.
member.
Got it.
Okay, thank you very much again, and we would like to talk about it more, but it's probably better to just kick it to the committee and start more in-depth
Sure.
conversations there.
Greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, and we appreciate you coming in, for sure. As I said, we've had, I think, multiple people trying to get information on it and see what we can figure out on our
Right.
own, but it's in the infant stages, I guess, is what I'd say. Yeah.
And I don't know if you missed the comment I had
Yeah.
just given, was the fact that a lot of this money is in the rule writing and development stages, and will be, those will be released in the next year or so. But it's encouraged that communities get their plan together well before then, so that you're ready when it happens, because if you don't have everything in a row prior to that point, you'll get overwhelmed by everything that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Question?
Okay.
Question, is that what you do, is you create the plan?
No.
No.
We have people on our staff that have been involved at the state level of economic development through broadband. However, that is not my strength. My strength is getting it done,
Okay,
designing and building a fiber optic network that takes advantages of the situations. So I'm purely an engineer, but I am aware of other elements of the industry.
Well, can
So
you
that-
build ours for 350 then?
so we need a planning, and then you're the one that does it. We need to come up with a plan.
And once again, like I said, this is not a play to
Sure.
do that. Most likely what really ends up happening is that the municipalities will partner with a provider in the area, or a provider interested in getting into the area, and help facilitate them doing the build. And at that point, most of those providers have their own design and implementation teams, and we'll do it that way. Right now, we have two main functions. Our primary number one function is we support the industry in getting broadband networks built. Our company's been around since 1953. Our second lead thing that's come about is we spent too many times going into a municipality and explaining why their grant and their funding and their project was not designed properly, and their budget is totally blown. And so we got tired of doing that and decided to get involved in helping municipalities create those budgets so that we don't have to have the hard conversation.
Great.
Consultation.
It's just what happened in
Yeah.
Clark County. I've been working in Clark County with broadband and this whole issue, and so that's, your lessons helped me, and then Clark County actually just vetoed their whole broadband plan just because of what you said. So it's just like, now they don't have anything, it's a really big mess. So actually,
Oh, okay, they-
the
they-
legislator is getting involved now,
Yeah.
and so, yeah.
They created a plan that wasn't properly.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Bug tussle.
Okay.
I know you guys do who
All
bug
right.
tussle is.
Thanks
Yeah,
again.
thank you.
Yeah.
Hope your wife feels better.
Any,
She is.
Yeah.
Yes.
anybody else? Yeah. Wesley, I guess you say your name.
Wesley Bennett,
Yeah.
741 South Liberty Street. I don't know what the standard procedure is, but I didn't see on the agenda any mention of the results of the Board of Appeals meeting, where we suggested some things to the council. Is that passed along in the next meeting, or?
That
It
is
shows
coming
up
up.
in the minutes, when the minutes are posted.
Yeah, when the
And
minutes will be
there's a
posted.
report on it in the director's report, or in the administrative report.
Yeah, so,
So it takes a few months for that to process through?
No, it's talked about in this meeting, it's just not, like, there isn't a separate agenda item for
Oh.
Board of
so
Appeals.
it's
Okay.
report of village administrator, there's items on there,
Okay.
and,
The zoning board of appeals is not a sublet, this, there's no board member on it.
Yeah.
Put it under committee report, because it's a citizen advisory group. So we'll bring the recommendations forward, but it's not a board member that's reporting on
Sure.
it like you would with a committee or
Gotcha.
planning commission.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
and I think, there's another subcommittee meeting that deals with that, specific item that you're saying what recommendations were, so I think you'll see some things coming out of that that's kind of being fed into that too, so as an output of that subcommittee, I think you're gonna see a combination of zoning board of appeals input and that subcommittee input.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that it was moving along.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thanks. Anybody else? On the call on the floor, last call for citizen input. All right, finish up with that, and then we'll move on. Approval of minutes. So Renee, we just had the one,
No, I got the.
oh, you did get the one.
I did, and I sent an email.
Oh, so is it on my phone maybe?
It's on the packet,
Oh,
but I sent an email telling you.
Yes, I
that it's on
read the
packet.
email there, yep.
Mm-hmm.
okay. Yeah, I don't know why, it just kept loading as 4 pages for me.
Oh, sure.
That's fine. All right, now
Can we
it comes up.
approve this if it hasn't been out there for 24 hours?
Oh, sure.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
yep.
Mhm. I did really good in getting it done with everything that's been happening and having the plan
Yeah,
commission
same.
meeting
The
just on
agenda,
Thursday.
the agenda item's
So-
been out for 24 hours, which is what has to be out.
So we had, the first packet push was pages up to 4, and then there's the zoning board of appeals meeting, minutes there. And again, with the plan commission and zoning board of appeals, you basically approve it so that it's put into record. If there's anything you would request for update, essentially it's gotta go back to that group. And just to point out, as Wesley was asking, there, in the minutes, there is some recommendations you'll see at the bottom there. To take a look at the language of sign ordinances. So whenever you're comfortable.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Right, I have to finish my sentence. Okay. A motion and second to approve the minutes, so the board has that motion. Any comments or questions? One last, any comments or questions? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes as written? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay? Alright, ayes have it. Okay, financial report, number 8. Renee?
Just a few items to call your attention to. You will see in July, we received the state shared revenue, a portion of it, the expenditure restraint, the exempt computer aid, and the fire insurance dues from the state. Moving on to the next page, the bottom of the page, under the police department. One of the items I wanted to call your attention to is the squad's miscellaneous alternating expense. There have been some repairs, and so you will see that they are over budget. There is another one that we're gonna be telling you about tonight, but just calling your attention to that line item. And then if you go on to the next page, under fire, you'll see that we paid the quarterly payment for the fire district. And that was all I was gonna call your attention to. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
question.
Yes.
On page 4,
Mhm.
it's under parks, and we're at
Mhm.
875%. It's called park alternating periodic expense. What's that?
It is the first pay request, I believe, off the top of my head, I think it's the first pay request for the
For the ball
ball
field?
field.
Okay.
But
That's
I
what
can
was.
check that for sure.
Yeah, that is part of it, so even though it's not in that, we're actually probably gonna give it its own category, but in the meantime, it's gotta
right,
sit in there.
Right.
So you're gonna make, cause that was another thing I was
Yeah,
gonna
we're-
ask,
we're
if we
gonna-
can make our own category for the ballpark, so that we know how far we, you
Well,
know, cause we,
what we're gonna do is take it out of operation and put it into, capital, projects.
okay.
So that it'll capitalize versus, but until we've, started the project, it has to sit in operation essentially, but we'll journal entry that over.
Okay.
So in the meantime, it's there, but
Good.
that will come out of our operation budget, go into the capital budget.
Okay, good, that sounds excellent, thank you.
Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, any other comments or questions for Renee? That would just be looking for a, motion and second on the budget comparison financial report.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay, motion and second. Board has a motion, any comments or questions on the motion? Might see none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Goodman,
Yes.
Herbison,
Yes.
Hurd,
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Mattoon.
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
All right, on to the next financial piece is the list of bills.
So I will first mention the ones that came in late after I printed the report, and I would like you to give approval for these bills as well. Ian K. Falmart in the amount of $879.49. It's their regular monthly bill. Eau Claire Energy Cooperative, $1332.42, $236.44, $35.84, and $24.26. That also is their regular monthly bill. Augusta Tire, this is also a squad repair, $1,119. And then there are 2 refunds for renting the kitchen, and they have the refundable deposit, one for Lee Hendricks and one for Lisa Rather. These items came in after the report was printed, so I'm asking you to add those to your approval. And then just putting some noteworthy items called to your attention. The Advanced Engineering Concepts, $316.53. That's part of the first pay request for Keller Park. Also, the $750 for Schaefer Land Surveying. And then you will see that there is a ballistic vest that was to strikers for $1,092. That is part of a grant that will be recovered by grant funds. And that is all I was gonna call your attention to. Are there
Motion.
any questions?
No.
Were these with the ball field, the engineering and the, survey?
Surveys?
Were these expected costs?
Yes.
I thought, the gentleman said that he was gonna pay those.
No.
No, he was gonna lead, he's a big project manager, he volunteered his services as project manager. But that there would be engineering costs and so forth. Yeah.
And there was a discount on one of the bills because of it.
There's heavy discounts on all of those
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
He said he would work to get discounted, volunteer hours and discounted prices on things, and then, raise funds too, I guess.
But we're on the hook for 75.
Only 7.
Not 75, 70.
70?
70,000.
So this is part of that? then?
Well,
This
yes
would
and
be-
no, so we're gonna run all of them through the pay request, so the way that pay request, and if you'll notice, the pay request is a little further down here for approval, we're approving the invoices and approving the payrolls, or the pay request separate.
Right.
The way that pay request, we have the general signing off on it, we have myself, and we have, a youth sports, signing off on it. So, they've received some large donations, there've been some large donations, and there's been a lot of donations from other groups for this. That's not all being run through the village, however, we do want to coordinate that all, to make sure that that all the funds are accounted for and all the funds are, going into our schedule. So we have a 3 signature on that, pay request. We're on the hook for the $70,000.
Okay.
But we will expect to see more of those in the near future.
Okay.
I think-
I didn't know if this was like oh, and by the way, now there's this, or if this is kind of all part of what we promised.
And this is the beginning of it. I think next week they're hoping to see, yellow iron on site. So we will start to see a lot more of this in the next couple of months.
So I want to be clear on this, Jared, because this was something, we said we would give up to $70,000, and they were saying, well, maybe you won't even need to give any if we get enough
That's what I was
donations. So I
Right.
want to make sure that they're applying their 50,000 they got from Shields and all the other things first, and they're not taking our 70,000 and then they have, 50,000 left in their pocket to, I don't know, buy popcorn. I'm
You're-
facetious, but I just want to make sure. It's just like any grant management, when we get a
That's-
grant, you have to account for every expense from every,
What we didn't do is
source.
say where it had to be spent first. So for instance, if you get a state grant, Matt,
Right.
some of them say you have to spend all of your loan money and then our grant. That is not specified what we agreed. We said we do up to $70,000. Now, most of their donations are coming in kind things. For instance, they've got the concrete guy donating,
Right.
and they've got the block guy.
The sod guy,
Most
yeah.
of their donations are coming in kind. There is, some cash donations, and there's one very substantial cash donation. So there is a budget for this project, and assuming we come in close to budget, all of their money's gone, and so is ours.
So,
that's-
so with what we just looked at, have we spent 10,000 of that? I know we spent 6,000
I'm trying to
in
pull
June.
up, I need to go back there, cause I cannot get my stinking internet to work off the counties.
So I just wanna know where we're at as far as.
Yeah,
Today.
and that's what I was,
Okay.
that's what I was hoping for.
Okay.
The 2,500, when she was saying that, I said,
Right.
that's more than our pay request is for. There's $6,000 for trees at Keller Park that is included in that,
So this 6,000 in June is really the trees?
and 4,500 of
For
it
the
is
park.
West Wisconsin Regional Planning for the, outdoor recreation plan. None of that you're seeing in that is the pay request yet.
Got it, okay, okay.
So we're $10,500 in park expenses, that are legitimate park expenses.
For trees and planting,
Yep,
okay.
but it's not, I was trying
Not
to get
for the
my.
ball field.
Yeah, but we will be seeing those, but it's minuscule, the first one, you'll see the
Okay.
pay request coming up, but it's not the full. I was trying to pull it up, I appreciate you getting that, cause I keep getting this stupid server.
I couldn't get it right away either.
So,
Yeah.
Jared, I just
So
want to make sure.
there's some, also, I would say there's probably some, entry, re-entry, I guess, of expenses, like the $4,000 we talked about using
So it doesn't turn off.
some of the
You just got.
Zeman money for
Yeah.
that to get, or something, right, and the 6,000, whether that was coming out of capital. there's possibility of.
We talked
Budget,
about
yeah.
whether we wanted to do that, but I think we decided, well, I thought we decided that we were not pulling that out of the Zeman money, that we, could potentially talk about Inland Lake as it was a shared plan, that we weren't pulling for the
Okay, yeah,
outdoor
right.
recreation plan
Yeah,
portion.
in my recollection, I think the point I'm trying to make is there's possibly some
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to stay
moving to
there.
different categories. yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
I guess if there's helpful information on that budget portion, you know, maybe
It's called
request
ball
we bring
field.
it in, ball field categories, and
Yeah.
then if there's something that, if we have more questions going forward, something to look at.
We'll see it on the expense reports, but I hope by next month we're gonna have enough other expenses that we'll take that to capital and you won't see it in the operational line items, but yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. Is there a motion, is there a second?
There was.
Okay, a motion is second, pay the bills. Board has a motion, any comments or questions on that? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Hervison,
Yes.
Hurd,
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Mattoon.
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Aylesworth,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Okay, report of village administrator.
Okay, a couple things I wanna, highlight, we've obviously got it, we've got a Chips Hill, report on Victory coming up a little bit down the line. We are starting the budget process, we've got the department heads working on, their requests and what they think their respective departments are gonna need, for this upcoming year. We've also got a line item off of that a little bit further down, I wanna talk with the board about. We are getting to shop for health insurance once again, in case anybody's keeping track, that's every year I've been here. Our current provider has exited the market. Apparently they've been in the market for 30-something years, and we all got letters, a month ago, that said, after 30 years, we're calling it quits. The whole reason we went with these guys was we were tired of shopping it. We said, we're not getting our census isn't getting any better each year, get in a plan and be in the plan. And they just exited the market, so we're really batting 1,000, so I'm really looking forward to that once again. We're working with Focus on Energy and Excel Energy, most.
Can I interject something real quick? Is there any way we can help you do that?
You can, look at it, but honestly, it's a decent amount of shopping. I mean, you guys can look at it whatever you want. You guys can, board gets to make whatever decision they want, if they want to assign that to somebody else.
No, I
But-
mean, is there any way we can help you and get the information so that you're not digging for it all, that we can just?
So, Jerry Denboer with Benefit Advisor, he's got a staff that, put together a fairly good, option spreadsheet for us to be able to see what.
So
what our
almost like a
options are.
broker?
It's absolutely a broker.
Okay,
He is an
okay.
insurance broker.
Okay.
Thea is awesome. I actually got a meeting with him tomorrow at noon,
Good.
For this in particular. Currently, well, we'll see, but we're hoping we're not going to see a big rate increase. It looks like our census is still okay for our utilization, so we're
Okay.
hoping to be similar in cost to what we've been, but we obviously are gonna get to go to a new service once again, assuming our census gets approved, so.
Okay.
It's just that's just another process to the budgeting process that I'm really tired of doing. Anyways. Where was I at? Focus
Sorry.
on Energy, we've got, for instance, the hall switched over to LED, but we do still have some, at the shop and actually in the back here. Those rebates, there's the Focus on Energy rebates and Excel, because we don't qualify for tax, because we're a municipality, there's no tax incentive. They actually have a bonus incentive that's going in on top of Focus on Energy, but those are getting ready to expire in September. So we will likely be doing, some upgrades on some of our bulbs and switching over some stuff to LED while those, incentives are still in place. So we'll see that coming up. And then, to Wesley's, or Mr. Bennett's point, the zoning board of appeals did need to talk about those variants, assigned variants after a decent amount of discussion on it, and looking at, the ordinance. They determined that, the zoning board of appeals by ordinance is actually precluded from, for issuing a variance for that particular thing. So they requested that the board look at the ordinance on that. One, to update the ordinance on sign. They felt like that was probably an oversight, something that might have worked really well in 1980, but
could potentially stand some updating. And to Tim's point, we talked about that in the zoning board of appeals, that was something that we had a group working on, and that motion, could be carried forward and we could look at it from that side. The other thing they, requested was to take a look and see if the ordinance is going to stay the way it is or something similar to it, that the zoning board of appeal, the ordinance be amended to allow zoning board of appeals to actually, adjudicate on sign matters.
To do their job.
Sure.
Well, and they can do their job, but it's what powers have been adjudicated to them. So if it's gonna stay similar or, in that same range, that potentially, authority over signs could be, transferred to them. So that's something we need to consider in this upcoming, rendition. We're doing in 268 right now, and we'll send that to that, push that to the agendas for that committee. So hopefully we'll see some recommendations, whether for approving or disapproving those, requests coming forward out of that committee in 268. A couple of other things, obviously the, PSC report is in, that's taken quite a lot of work. We expect to hear back from them within the next week or two, for any additional documentation. We did in fact get an acceptance on it, which means they did accept our data, and we are using the 2022 test year, which is no small feat, to be honest. We were getting a little bit nervous about that. Obviously, we've got elections coming up. It's been a really busy time. The library, is wrapping up their, summer reading. They're getting ready to transition into their fall program. You see the, police department report, National Night Out was a great success. Felt like, they had a really good turnout there. Felt like there was, good participation. Fun Fest, went over fairly swell. Staffing is a struggle, it always has been, and it's not getting any better with the current environment. We're really struggling to try and put a couple of, part-time officers on the roster to get some help there. And then there's some stuff we're trying with some grants. We'll keep everybody posted on that to see where we come, but we're hoping for some possible help on some staffing grants. As far as the public works report, we did get a BACT positive test at one of our test sites in the, distribution center. It was, BACT positive, but E. coli negative, meaning we triggered a series of tests. You have to test at the sample site that had a bad test. You test upstream and downstream, and you tested all your wells or your, source points. All of the repeats came back negative. So we did have a positive BACT, but E. coli is the one that gets you sick. There's multiple BACT, but it's E. coli that we're truly looking out for. So they all came back negative, all the repeats. So we did the additional monitoring, but we're able to continue on. But there is a note, we did get a hit. So just for your information. Yeah, and then we've got a decent number of our, current ones. One other, point, and I guess we'll talk about this, we had 24 hours of man hours on the weed harvester this month, and, we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's my report.
Any questions, comments?
I do.
For Chair.
I just had a question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just wondered, how is it going currently down at the park? Is there more vandalism, and has it been taking up some time for the guys? And
No, we're seeing, more utilization down there, but the vandalism is very hit and miss.
Okay.
We'll see vandalism, we had the same problem last year. You'll see some vandalism for a while, and then it seems more or less okay. I mean, well, was it 2 weeks ago, we had the, paint on the walls, or was that 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah, before Fun Fest. This week, we also had somebody put a tampon under the toilet, the valve in there, so the toilet ran all night. Something like that, so.
Cameras aren't gonna catch that, we're not gonna have,
No,
cameras
no.
in the stall.
Right,
But it's
obviously,
amazing.
but-
The same thing with some of the painting we had in there.
Actually,
If I can add, we just received a tip from Crime Stoppers that somebody's down there graffitiing under the bridges. We went down there looking for
The
it.
new bridge?
They didn't say, they just said the bridge at Keller Park. So we went down there and were looking for it. We didn't locate it yet, but I didn't climb underneath all the bridges yet. So there's still reports of some issues down there.
what, you didn't wanna get dirty?
I tried.
We don't wanna fall.
All right. Thank you.
So with the staffing, it says that the staffing, the other officers are only able to fill 4 shifts a month? Is that because they're full-time elsewhere?
Yeah,
Okay, so we're borrowing?
Well, they have their moonlighting, it's a part-time job.
Got
But they
it.
have other shifts and priorities and families and,
Sure.
in a previous day when it was easier to keep law enforcement officers, when there was more people trying to be into the industry, then there was options available.
Right.
You kinda had to work your way, you had to have some time as a part-time officer to get in and
Right.
people work more hours, it was more of a thing. Right now, if you
Not so
want
much.
if you want a job, there's a full-time job out there, and it's kinda hard to come up with very many part-time officers. And
Okay.
you get, a lot of the agencies don't want their officers moonlighting. If you want additional hours, we'll give them to you in-house.
Sure.
So, it,
Makes sense.
it really is a struggle, and it's not just Fall Creek, it's
And if we had them,
municipalities
we'd
all over
probably
the
do the
place.
same thing.
Right.
Have we spoke with the other communities or like Eau Claire, since they're down here all the time, or the county, to see if they can,
So Eau Claire City themselves are not down here all the time, it's this county we.
I know the county is, but I'm saying, have we talked to other municipalities about sharing officers or things like that? Or have we spoke with the county about, cause they end up getting called here anyways, of having somebody on staff here when we can?
No, so we spoke with, well, yes and no. So we've spoken, or I've spoken with, other municipalities from the administrative standpoint about, the idea of sharing officers. Nobody's particularly interested in that right now. If they can get an officer, they'll take them. For instance, a few years ago, there was once floated with Altoona, that if we could, share an officer there, try and get a full-time, both get something out of it.
Augusta?
They just had a full-time position that they couldn't fill. Not only did they not fill part-time, but they couldn't fill their full-time position, and they just went down an officer and gave substantial raises. We're gonna really enjoy budget time. I don't know how. I don't know where it's all coming from, but we're going to have to make some adjustments, especially in our police department. They are very mobile, and it's hard to keep officers right now. And we have to be competitive with our surrounding entities.
We are. Going to have to.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun, but yes, we've had some discussions with them. No, we haven't had very far discussions that have gotten very far in that. The county doesn't want their officers moonlighting or working for other entities. They're happy to give them the hours they have. However, yeah, I guess I'll stop at that. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Anything else for Jared? Or Colin?
One other point I guess I could point out, the squad maintenance, we are over budget on that. The Dodge Charger, although it's not our next one up on our replacement list, is getting a decent amount of money right now, in maintenance. I don't know why we like those cars so much. I think the last one we had before that one had a decent amount of problems. But we're spending a decent amount of money on that stupid Charger.
Things are horrible.
I don't know why we like those cars so much, but.
Are we in the transmission world on that, or?
Not currently.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to 11, committee report. So we did this plan commission on there. You probably saw in the minutes, but there was a fairly significant, I guess I would call it. It was significant in that we took zoning 268, reformatted it to our titling format. So that's kind of a indication of what we've been through in the ordinances. If it's not chapters anymore, it's titles. It's kind of looked at and sort of brushed up, whether it's just formatting changes or potentially cleanup in content. So that was being done, one, to reformat, but also we had saw the tabular format, table formats in other ordinances. So if you get a chance and you want to take a look at that ahead, because it will come to the board once the plan commission is done with it. But if you want to look at that ahead of time, feel free, I guess, to ask for that and we'll get it out. But it's much easier to see all the zoning districts now, conditional and permitted uses, dimensions set for setbacks and so forth. So it's been some work, but I think you'll look at it and say it's a huge improvement, and the planning commission did say that, it was a huge improvement, so. So that's been going on. We've also been, as we've been talking about, looking at different updates, trying to get some ordinance language in for twin homes, looking at R1A, which is high density rural, kind of like Crystal Creek over, and looking at basements. There might be a few other items, so that's also going on with the zoning title, I guess, too. The planning commission looked through it, had a number of comments, weren't ready to kick it onto the board yet, so there'll be some more follow-on meetings for the planning commission, and probably some public hearings with that again. There's generally, if there's enough significant updates from the past public hearing on the zoning updates that were given forward, you'll do another public hearing, so that, but once the planning commission's happy with those and recommending those changes, the board will see those. So yeah, that's it. Anybody else have any other committee report? Things they'd like to highlight, mention? I will say, I guess, budget time will be coming up, so look for a lot more meetings starting in September for the Personnel and Finance Committee. So the library will be having some meetings too, if you ever looking for something to do on I think it's a Monday, yeah.
We meet on Mondays.
Yeah, on Monday, they will also be going through budget. So if you wanna get an appreciation for what they're going through and what they'll be asking for, those meetings will be happening, I think, September here. Okay. Unfinished business, security cameras at municipal properties, 12A.
I asked Colin to come speak on this.
Okay, sure. Is that the way you wanna start? Give Colin the floor?
Yeah,
Okay.
We got the additional quotes, and we did have an offer from one of the businesses or one of the residents that did put in a quote to come and address the board. I did not ask him to, for a spot on the agenda once we'd already gone out to bid, even though I think there was some definite expertise that could have benefited us from that point. Once we'd already gone out to bid, I was hesitant to have one of the bidders come in and give information without inviting all of the bidders. We're trying to get all of them there where it already gone out to bid. So we do have one of the bidders who was willing to come address either the board or a committee. If that's something somebody would like to consider, there's some implications of that. I think once you've already gone and sought numbers that we would need to be careful of. But just in the back of your mind, we do have a local resident who was willing to speak on it, but for some sense of fair play, I was a little nervous about that, so I did not schedule that for this agenda. Sorry.
I think the more the bids, the better.
Well, they put in a bid, but once you put in a bid, the bid is the bid. If we had that conversation beforehand and said, hey, you guys really should look for this, or you should really look for that, are you aware of QRS? But once you've put in a bid, now you're doing the exact same thing with all of the good intention, even, that you could have had 3 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. You're now trying to compete. You're now potentially in violation of procurement laws, because now are we looking at the lowest responsible bidder, or are we allowing negotiations to take place, or pro forma negotiations to take place in a meeting without inviting everybody to come in and negotiate, which is why we didn't invite them here. It would have been a great idea had we done it before, but after I think we run into some issues. So just.
But if you tell me if I'm wrong, but if we don't like this request and the bid, we can decline that and send out another information packet of for a different bid, right?
We
More
could,
specifics.
but I think you would need to be more specific, and I think we would have to substantiate. I mean, we always have the ability to reject all bids and to redo it, that's always an option. But we would need to, I'm not an attorney, I'll just back up there, but from my understanding, we would need to be changing that, significantly enough. We, you know what, after looking at this, we realized that we didn't ask for QRS, or we were actually really concerned about X, Y, or Z, and we're not comparing apples
It
to
makes
apples.
it significantly different.
Right,
Yeah, or more.
because otherwise you're,
Yeah.
you know, if you just go out and ask for it and say, oh, no, we didn't like this, but we like so-and-so, there, you could potentially get in violation there with public procurement, so you would need to. be
Right, but
careful about that.
if you look at, the proposals, the bids that come in and the material is way different and the technology's way different, you can't do an apples to apples comparison, and you could
Yeah, potentially.
kick them back.
Yeah.
What if we send this back to committee, because we have the 3 bids here, they're obviously very different, and we don't have enough information. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on this until we have more information, and obviously, we're not experts, we're gonna need, and these salesmen, they are experts, and if we have to have them all come in and talk to us, well, then they all come in, and I say, talk to us, I think it should go to the committee can do a fine job.
Well,
And
who's
you-
using the equipment though?
Hmm?
Who's using the
Would you like me to
equipment?
come up? and
Yeah,
kind of
Colin,
follow you?
yeah.
Colin has to be
Yeah.
involved in this
Yeah.
too.
The
Yeah.
person that needs to be the most comfortable with it and know what's going on is the police department, so.
So I'll start by saying I am not a camera expert. This is kind of out of my realm. But what I can do is if you would like, I will go through each of the proposals or the bids and kind of tell you what the difference is that each company is proposing. They were all basically told the same thing, where we wanted cameras, what our capabilities could be, but then it seems that they didn't exactly all do the same, follow the packet that we were looking for. So first I'll direct you to SOS Security. Their proposal was the least expensive of the 3 proposals. However, I feel that it was not done with the application of what we were actually looking for in mind. They didn't plan in how many terabytes of storage we're looking for. They didn't put in monitors for the actual systems themselves. So I don't feel that the bid that they gave us was going to actually cover everything the village was looking for with this system. So this would have given us 3 cameras here at Village Hall, and it would have given us 4 cameras down at Keller Park, which is actually 1 camera less than I had asked the company to do at Keller Park. Next quote up would be for TrueLock. This would have given 3 cameras here at the Village Hall and 5 cameras at Keller Park. The difference, but I'll kind of explain between TrueLock's bid and NetTel's bid is that it really comes down to the Keller Park portion of the cameras. When you get to Keller Park, TrueLock was going to do, I'm going to try and get the wordage correctly, a point-to-point camera system is what they were looking for at Keller Park. So essentially they would install transmitters in certain places and the cameras would work wirelessly, communicate to the DVR, and then we would have the system there. So there wouldn't be a need for trenching, no laying wire underground, it would all work wirelessly. And they would give us 2 basic network channel boxes, a 4-channel one here at Village Hall, and an 8-channel at the park. The 4-channel would allow us to add an extra camera in the future to Village Hall if need be, and then the 8-channel down at Keller Park would allow us to install 3 additional cameras in the future if we needed them for that. The next proposal was the NetTel proposal. This is very similar to the TrueLock, except for one major difference is that this would require trenching at Keller Park. And the trenching would run from the cafeteria area, vestibule there, underground by that ballpark that's currently there, to the front office there where the speakers are for the ballpark. That's where they would run a trenched line underneath the ground to run cameras off of that building.
Can you repeat that?
So they run a trench line from the
Yep.
cafeteria
Yep.
up to the
In the press box?
Press box.
Yeah, the press box.
The word was escaping me, the press box, so they
Right.
have. So
Not
someone
under
had-
the field.
Not under the field, no, but it would still require trenching under the ground to
Right,
run the
right, right,
wire up to the press box there. Whereas, like I said, the main difference between TrueLock and NetTel, no trenching for TrueLock, but NetTel would need to trench that line under the ground and run it to the press box up there.
That was not included in the bid?
That is not included in the bid, that would be something, I believe he said that Public Works would probably have to look at doing, is digging that trench along there. Both bids would require electricians to come out to work on the electrical portion of the camera systems
Yep.
themselves also. The other thing to look at when you're looking at these two side by side, the cameras that NetTel is looking to install are a more expensive camera system than the TrueLock cameras themselves. The reason for this is the cameras are a higher quality camera. They also come with a 5-year warranty through NetTel because they are a premium dealer of this camera brand. Some normal warranties on cameras are 1 to 3 years. You would get an additional 2-year warranty on the cameras themselves through NetTel.
What would be the cost to trench, do you know?
That I do not know.
It's not in here, Public Works.
Like $5 a foot.
I read it in there, but what?
Probably, it depends, probably just like, if it's just Cat 5,
I would assume so. It's, you just fade it in.
And that's not in here.
That is
No.
not in here. That's
So
up
what
to
is
the
that?
village to.
What's the spitball on that?
like
What, on the
$5 a
furniture?
foot, it's like putting a drop in, but,
Mhm.
yeah. Big just armored Cat 5, I'm sure. And they just take a flat shovel, wiggle it back and forth, make a little twine, put it in 6 inches, step it back.
Armored Cat 5 with Cat 6 terminations.
One more thing I should mention with all of these bids, this is based on the assumption that we would be running router and wireless internet to Keller Park.
That was my next question,
Yes,
because otherwise
this-
you have to go down there,
Exactly.
download it, and so you don't have
Exactly.
real-time information.
So, yes, all of these bids are not for local stations. These are for actual router stations where we will get updates automatically, live camera feed.
Now,
On your phone.
Isn't there a local station included down there?
Yes, so there
is a lo-
would,
is
there will be a local station down there, but this allows for us to have access to it remotely, so we will have live feed. If we do not do that, then you will only have a local station at each facility, which then you have to start looking into, we won't actually have live feed into the park, we won't have live feed into the village hall. Then you have to start looking more into weather conditions. If you have an actual computer tower down there at Keller Park where it's not heated during the winter time, then we're gonna have to talk about how do we keep it freezing and things like that.
Officer Mumford, have you talked to any other municipalities that have had cameras put in?
So I have worked for the city of Altoona. We
Yep.
had a lot of cameras put in. I do not know the companies that were put into those, but I can tell you we had a live feed into the River Prairie area.
Yep.
That was all wireless router, and we had the devices all put onto our cell phones, so if you
Right.
were working, you could log right into your phone and you could see everything
Okay.
in real time. And it
Okay.
made it much easier when somebody called in a complaint about vandalism, hey, there's kids down at the park, you log right in there, you're
You can see
watching
it.
it, and
Yeah.
you can see if they leave, where they go, what's going on.
So out of these 3 bids, it's only the TrueLock that's automatically wireless. The other one, we have to come up with an additional wireless capability. But the cameras are better, you're saying, with the NetTel. So is there a way to get better cameras with the TrueLock proposal? I mean, is there some, do we need to?
I don't believe so. So the cameras that are sold through NetTel is because they're a dealer for that camera. And so they are the local dealer for Hanwha camera. And that is the camera that comes with a 5-year warranty with it. So TrueLock, I do not believe is a dealer for that particular brand of camera.
I guess I still don't understand why we couldn't use something like a MiFi. And, because the village already pays, we already have, I don't know if it's Verizon or AT&T or Sprint or. Ooh, okay, so we have Verizon. I know for Verizon, they call it a MiFi. And you just, it's a you just dump the data in and it's wireless.
Yeah. As far as what your bandwidth is gonna be and what your router capabilities are, I don't know what we would need exactly down there till we decide what exactly we want. Then we have to just go with the internet connection from there.
And so, just as a teaser, we have a MiFi, and we have a 25 gig account, and it's $15 a month.
Sure.
So, I mean, for the village, it might be 4 times that amount. Maybe it would only be $60 a month. But it's wireless, and we don't have to run wired cable.
What's got better connection? What lasts longer?
Wired cable.
Extra,
Well,
extra
absolutely it
equipment
does.
that fails?
Got a
If
5-year
your routers
warranty on
start
the camera.
failing because it's wireless, you're
Sure.
replacing them. Once you put the cable in, it's pretty much a done deal.
And what I will say is that NetTel, all of the cameras, besides the one that will be on the press box, will be installed on the current existing building that is there, that has the cafeteria and the restrooms
Mhm.
attached to it already.
Mhm.
Even they priced out a camera with a very expensive telephoto lens that can shoot down to the pond area from that building. As opposed to the TrueLock, where they're doing the point-to-point, there will be a camera down further, but there'll be the transmitter down there that will bring the images back. So it's just kind of going to be dependent on what the village board would like.
Most important thing to you, Colin, is what? What are the most key points that we need to cover? I mean, what are we looking for that will help you, be our public, take care of us as far as public safety?
So what I would say is, I would definitely say the most important point to a camera system is having real time.
Live feed.
Real time.
That is going to be the most important thing to the police department, is if we have an incident somewhere, we can actually see what's going on, and I don't have to go down.
More important than
afterwards.
resolution?
Sorry, what was that?
More important than resolution?
Resolution's highly important also.
So that's number 2. That's
That would be
what-
number 2. But being able to log in real time, see what's happening, and then,
And is this all on a loop? So I know this is probably a dumb question, even though it's real time. Is it getting taped somewhere?
yeah, that's where
Okay.
your storage comes in.
Okay.
So, let's see, so in the
2
NetTel
terabyte.
bid, they've got 8 terabyte, I believe.
Mhm.
If you go with the 16 channel,
Mhm.
and in the TrueLock, they've got a 2 terabyte hard drive.
Okay.
So that is something, and then you program it, it can rewrite itself after a certain period of time. So it's always constantly rewriting. So most places, they save it for 30 days, and then it rewrites after 30 days.
Okay.
And that's usually how it works. Then, whereas the SOS quote, they did not give us any type of quote for storage, anything like that.
That's typically considered an unresponsive bidder, and it's no longer considered, if you don't, or, non-responsible.
Mhm.
So do any of these, the 3 that you have in front of you, feel like they meet the needs of, like what?
In all honesty, the SOS quote, like Jared said, I don't
Okay.
believe it's responsible.
So of the 2 then?
Of the 2, I believe you have a good system with both. It's going to be up to, I think, as far as the police department goes, we can work with either of these bids.
Okay.
It would be up to the village board for you to decide which one is gonna work better, I think, Chester made a good point of, you've got hardline with NetTel, and it's harder to break hardline because it's installed. But then, it's a little more expensive to do that, whereas the point-to-point is a little cheaper.
Mm.
And with either, you can do real time?
Yes,
And
either
have
one
the
we can do
resolution.
real time, either one you can have decent resolution. It's just gonna be,
So it's decent, like you can say it was me there versus?
if we get good enough cameras, then yes.
And are these good enough cameras on NetTel?
I don't know for sure, I haven't seen either of them in function.
Can we upgrade?
It's-
So,
For
It's
these-
my understanding that NetTel supports Altoona and Eau Claire.
So I know that NetTel did the Altoona schools, if I remember correctly.
I think they have all of it now.
Is it all of it, River
I think
Prairie and all
so.
that? I
I
know that
wouldn't-
they did Augusta just recently, I believe he said, so.
okay.
And so we're trenching from the pavilion,
Mhm.
the kitchen to the
Up to the
box.
press box.
the press box, because there's a telephone at the press box?
Power. So there's power at the press box
Okay.
currently, and what I have requested was a camera on the press box to view the parking lot as well.
Okay.
No.
So what we would
But
have.
we're still talking about getting a hard line to
Yeah.
beyond the trenching. We're still talking about, and I have no disagreement, hard line's better, but
I just think if you're gonna buy a system, you should try to buy it once. I mean, it's gonna cost more, but that's where my, just like if we were buying equipment or anything else, you wanna try to buy it once and.
how long do you think we're gonna run 2-wire underground? Ryan?
Long time.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much of it in the ground.
Yeah. Probably.
I'd buy fiber today if they offered it.
Yeah. I hear you.
But
More questions for me?
I just have, so these dollar amounts don't include electrician fee, right?
Correct. Electrician is not included in any of these bids.
Or bandwidth?
Correct. So, yeah.
Do we have bandwidth down at the park?
No, we do not.
mm-mm.
There's no type of Wi-Fi, anything installed currently, so we would have to run it down there as well.
That would be another service where we'd have to add it on, huh? Get another modem.
I think that's what Matt was talking about.
Yeah, we don't have anything in the ground. We don't,
Yeah.
and we would have to figure out what that would cost us.
So whether, if we go with the camera, it doesn't matter which of these systems, we're either gonna have to do a MiFi or a wired.
Or wired.
One way or the other.
Or start with a Wi-Fi, on a MiFi, start with a MiFi and make plans to put it in the ground before winter.
Do we find out how much the bandwidth costs to get it to the park before we decide about the cameras or not?
Be a good idea.
I think
That
you-
cost-
I think you should have a total package, so you know what you're buying. I mean, you can't approve a bid for something and then find out the rest of it costs too much and you wanna back out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you
agreed,
need to know a
agreed.
total for the whole package.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if that includes any dirt work, concrete work,
Yep.
whatever those things are. so-
Electrician, Wi-Fi, all of
But,
it.
you know, do they have to move a piece of concrete out to get it somewhere, drill a hole through the, what all those things are?
Yeah.
I think should be,
Where's the nearest telephone tie?
Right there, there's a, depends on the utility, but CenturyLink has one, right, there's a green box.
Box.
Yeah.
Where?
On the west side, so you won't have to bore the road.
Okay.
Where that little asphalt walkway is
Yes.
in the ditch, there's a box there.
There is box.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't know if all the pairs are taken.
Right, I'm,
Seems not used.
Yeah.
I'm like Mr. Mischke, I'm 10-1 because there aren't enough pairs to give me anything more.
So, yeah, bonded.
So next step would be to figure out how much it's gonna cost to get, like you said, the electrician, the bandwidth, the trenching, those things in
Yep.
addition to, cause it sounds like there's maybe a better option, at least with the cameras, but we need those other things in place regardless of who we go with, so.
Yep.
It's now contacting those people.
If we send this back to the committee, then the committee can put together the whole package of what it's gonna cost.
Yep.
And you guys can put that together, then you can bring it to the board and say, okay, so to do this, with what Colin, the two stipulations that he has, real time and resolution, and this is what it would cost. And then this board can look at it and say, yes, we approve or don't. Because then
Would
your
broadband
committee
help?
can do that work and put it together. You have, Chester, you're on that committee too, right? Are you on Sheena's committee?
I'm not on the seniors committee.
Well, you can.
But I trust her to do a good
They're
job.
all open meetings, you can kick in and put in your
But
expertise.
they'll do a fabulous job.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll, if the board's okay, we'll put that back to Sheena's committee. And, one of the other things maybe to look at is, don't know if we have electricians around that would donate their time and effort, but those are some other things to look at too when you're looking at this additional cost. Is there anybody out there that would help?
If we move quick on this, just my opinion, I mean, Keller Park's about to get smacked. I mean, big time, so.
And there's gonna be electricians out there.
One more bruise in the ground isn't gonna be a big deal.
Smack, I don't know if you're saying that.
Well, it's gonna get a haircut. I mean,
Yellow iron
we're
there,
going
but
to
the long
put,
hair, no weed.
yeah, yellow iron, we're going to put bulldozers out there. It's gonna get,
Okay, you're talking about.
Torn up.
Torn up because of the ball field. Okay.
yeah, so
okay.
maybe now is the time, because if I remember correctly, there was some electrical stuff that was gonna be done
Yep.
for the ball field.
The CBTC is gonna trench the, power, I think.
So, is there a possibility that we could fold this in and pay a little extra money and get a line run?
I think that's
Just-
something the committee has to look at.
No, that's fine, but
Yeah.
Great.
better look quick.
Yeah, you're on that committee?
Oh.
Okay, so that's going to committee, I think, right?
I mean, if you want to try and fold
Is it
it
your
into.
committee?
It is, but here's my question, instead of paying the committee members to come sit here for however long and say.
Committee doesn't get paid again.
We don't get paid
We don't get paid for
for
committees.
committee.
Only
Yes,
this.
you do.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For
I thought we were
committee
free.
meetings?
Yes.
We shouldn't, it's just this one.
You know, probably the best way to do it is just to find your committee members
Special,
and give
but
them
not
the time to
committees.
say,
Special
you
side.
check out, find electricians, you do this, you do that, and
Yep,
just,
I-
and so
that's
then
what
you.
we're doing. Yep,
Yeah,
so-
and then they come together, report.
But committee meetings, just special meetings.
What was it,
just committee
Sheena,
meetings.
that you want?
Instead of calling a committee meeting to do exactly what we're doing right here and everybody get paid to sit around and have.
But we don't.
People,
It just,
We don't
I
get
think
paid.
I'll correct that, it's a special board, but not a committee. that you
Okay.
get-
Yeah.
Sorry.
but like Brian has expertise in the field and knows people and he's not on that committee, but he could certainly
Help.
make a call. So rather than do that, I think you should have the people that have that connection. Jared's already working with the youth sports people
Mhm.
and knows when people are coming to dig, when people are coming to do such and such. And if perhaps was going to coordinate something with CBTC or,
Mhm.
or whoever, Jared would be able to say, you know, I know they're coming on this date, would you be able to blah, 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 blah.
Isn't that what the committee's for, though?
That is what the committee's for. And you certainly can ask Ryan to kick in his expertise, or Chester, or anybody, any of us. I mean, and that, you know, and
Yeah,
just
I'm
say,
just curious.
bring to the table everything that you know about electricians and, you know, do you have somebody that you could, you know, that would volunteer time or whatever it is. And you just hand out the assignments and then you come together and then you guys iron it all out and then bring it back to board, because I don't have any expertise in this area. I don't need to sit in that committee.
Can
I
make-
do have a
can I make
question.
Can I make a point?
Can I ask a question real quick?
All right.
Digging the trenches, would that be our group?
Not unless we're providing new equipment than what we currently have.
Okay, I just didn't know.
You
Yeah,
need a
I just
shovel?
didn't know. Yeah, it's a shovel, right?
It's a shovel, yeah.
You just do.
Trench and drop.
No, it's not a shovel.
Oh, yeah, that's what we all do. All
a
your
trench.
drops to your backyard's 6 inches deep under the sod. You
Yeah,
just
so it's not a
Don't use a
machine.
trencher?
No, not,
No.
when they
It's-
put mine in at the house,
Yeah.
you, they were done, you couldn't even, I went and mowed lawn right over top, you couldn't even tell it was there. They
I
just-
can tell, because Brian put 2 lines in for me and they're still above ground, 2 years.
No, they come off
Is
the
it
pole
central?
and they just use the flat shovel and.
Right, it's,
Brian
yeah,
Ending?
it's an edger.
You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Anyways.
can I make,
Yeah, you were
can
gonna
I make
make
a short comment?
Yeah.
If we wanna take it back to, committee and bring it back to the board, that's fine. But it's not something that's going to happen quick. And if that's what we wanna do, that's okay. We have the ability to do that. We can take
Yeah.
more time to do it. That's fine. But if you're trying to coordinate something with, if there's any coordination that's trying to happen with, the ball field, you can't send it to committee and bring it back to the board. So.
Right.
You either need to do a hybrid in which we say, hey, if there's an opportunity to get a line run, we know we're gonna need a bonded Cat5 cable. If you've got an opportunity to run a line or some such thing, Jared, go ahead and do that. In the meantime, we're gonna work on getting the full bid, or if you just wanna say, you know what, we'll wait and we'll do it right all at once, I think that's okay, but I don't think you can have both. I don't think we can coordinate and then put it off a month or 6 weeks. You either need to say, you know what, let's put this to committee, let's make sure we have all the pieces together before we move forward, and I think that's a very valid and
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to coordinate, you know, with other things happening there right now, that also makes sense, but there's going to need to be some exceptions to be able to do that, cause I don't think you want to approve anything without, investigating it more thoroughly, but if there, you know, if there was, if the opportunity arises for X, Y, or Z, go ahead and work on that. But I don't think you're gonna get both. I don't think you're gonna be able to investigate and move quickly.
So what we need to find out.
Can I make a, before?
Yeah.
I think you're authorized for some expenditure, so.
Absolutely.
Within your judgment, if you think they're coming along and we can run Cat5 from the building to the crow's nest or press box and do any electrical updates in there that might be needed in the future, and they're gonna do it fairly cheap and free, I think it's,
That's reasonable.
yeah.
It's an easy thing because we're talking
I
about
would agree with
an
that.
infrastructure.
I'm just trying to put it out there.
I think if we're missing something that doesn't allow you to make a fast judgment like that, then. let's-
I just wanted to point out that you're not gonna get both, so if you want me to, if there's something I can do along the way, great, I'll do it. Otherwise, we're holding off, and it's gonna slow walk it, that's okay, but we're not gonna have fast and.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Super.
I do too.
So we need an electrician?
Not that much,
An
Well,
electrician?
so we just need to send this back to committee and.
Yeah, and figure
Move
out
on,
those additional
because we've
costs.
already been
Yeah.
doing it.
So additional cost would be electrician, Wi-Fi, and trenches?
Just send it to committee and move on.
They'll work it all out, they'll
25
figure out
minutes.
all the costs.
Yeah.
They're gonna do the complete look at it, do the full package.
Okay.
The committee will.
Well, I'm on that committee, I just wanna make sure I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. well,
Okay.
talk to Sheena and-
Okay.
Okay, 12B, second reading and possible adoption of ordinance amendment 118-2B building code, building permit fees. Anything you know here? There,
Nothing new on either of these are both,
copied.
as presented last month, they're the consensus ones I thought we had from last month.
It's at the very bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're doing the 118 one first, and then there's Title II one after that.
Where is this on
Everything is crossed
It's
out.
right below SOS, that bid portion.
It's removing the fees and putting them to a schedule of fees.
Ah, yeah,
We
it was like
adopted-
everything's Xed
We
out.
adopted the fee schedule last month.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
second reading,
Yeah.
right?
But we have the second
Got
reading,
it.
pulling it from the
Make
ordinance.
a motion.
Yep.
Sweet,
Yep, yep,
I
yep.
understand.
The second reading.
Do we have a motion?
I motion
Just
to.
to- yeah.
Well, we have a motion, we have a second.
I second.
Yeah, motion second to, adopt or accept the ordinance amendment 118-2 building code, building permit fees.
Yep.
Any- So the board has a motion to accept it. Any comments or questions on that? Seeing none, do roll call vote.
Hurd,
Yes.
Cotts,
Yes.
Mattoon.
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
Hervison.
Yes.
Okay, so just to recap, the fees will be, there will be a schedule of fees. We don't need to go through the 2 months of updating ordinance when we update fees. We'll just bring them forward.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so the next one, Title II, 231, and then in 243. Again, these should be redlined and no changes from that. Just the second reading.
And this is where two are non-citizens,
Three.
It's up, it could be 2 on the plan commission that are non-citizens.
And it's.
5 would be residents of the village.
And it also clarifies, if there's any
No, but
questions
it's-
about removal of boards and committees.
but this is 3 of which shall be residents. but
Right,
the-
with 2 of them, the president has to serve
Oh.
on the plan commission and
Okay.
also 1 member from the board.
Got
So
it.
you already have 2 village residents, we're adding 3 more, so we have 5.
Got it,
That's the
okay.
majority on a 7-member board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further board has the motion. Any comments or questions on? All right, do a roll call vote on adopting ordinance amendments to 231 and 243.
Cotts,
Yes.
Mattoon,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
Hervison.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Okay, on to new business, 13A, which is Fall Creek Fire, Area Fire District request for apparatus acquisition approval. So, please here.
I think on your iPads you have a picture of what we're looking at.
A beast.
a beast. The pumper we currently use as our number one pumper is 25 years old. Yeah, it's only got 25,000 miles on it, but consider this. At the garage fire, it went 0.2 of a mile, but it sat there and ran for 2 hours. Chicken chasers, it maybe got 0.3 of a mile, sat there and ran for 7 or 8 hours. So it's getting worn. NFPA says that you should not have a number one pumper over 20 years old. Well, so let them say that. But anyway, we've been looking at a pumper, thinking about it for a couple of years, just really in the past year that we've really started looking. Last November, I believe it was, this company from Osceola, Wisconsin, Crest Custom Fire, brought a truck down for us to look at. And it was almost identical to the picture you see. It fit our needs. It's the first truck we looked at, so we didn't bite at that time. They are now building this pumper that you see in the picture. They have the chassis. I don't think they've even started on the body. The cost of it would be $550,000, and they keep going up. Because the one that we had last fall, we could have got for $510,000, but we didn't know at that time. So what we need the village board to do is approve the expense for the fire board of $550,000 plus incidentals, which probably would be the lettering, probably a new radio, because I don't know if the radios out of the other 2 trucks are good anymore. Once we buy this truck, we can get rid of that old equipment van, because this will have the storage that we need, and we will sell the number 2 pumper that we have now. So we'll be down by 1 vehicle. Should help our insurance, because you take a vehicle off. The pumper that we use right now was bought in 1997. It was built to that size because it had to fit into the old station. This one is a little bit bigger, but we've got all kinds of room.
Just a question, maybe you can clarify the process, right? So the fire
board
goes through and they voted on this already?
Yes, the fire board, at last Monday's meeting, voted to bring to the municipalities a request to spend this monies.
Yeah, and that was my next question, because it'll go to Lafayette.
It'll
right?
go to Ludington and Lincoln.
Sorry.
Lincoln is having their board
Yeah.
meeting tonight. Ludington will have their board meeting Thursday night.
And a clarifying point, so the fire district already has the funds for this set aside.
Yes,
They're not
I was-
asking for additional funds from the municipalities, but because it's a joint fire district, is it $20,000 or $50,000?
$10,000, but anyway.
It's 10,000?
Yes.
Yeah. If we go above a threshold, then they have to bring it to the group too.
We have money in our depreciation account. When we buy this truck, we can pay cash for it.
So I have a question for you, Wayne. You said you have, your number 1 pumper is old,
Yes.
and then you said you had a van?
We have an old equipment van.
Equipment, so you're
To
gonna get
haul
rid of the
the
equipment van?
extrication equipment, air tanks, I don't know what else
Okay.
is all in there. With this truck here, it's designed so we can move that equipment into this truck.
So you could get rid of both of your
Yes,
units?
we'll
I
get rid
got
of
it.
2 units.
Get rid of the number 2, we have 2 pumpers over there.
Yeah.
So they'll keep 101, 101's their number 1 pumper, and it'll go to the backup. 104 is their current backup, which is what they'll get rid of, so we'll still have 2 pumpers down at the fire station.
If we were to purchase this one, it'd be this one and that other one? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you do need 2 pumpers or your
Sure.
insurance rates will go sky high. 2 years ago, I believe it was, ISO, an insurance rating company, came in and audited the department and so forth. And the village ranking went from a number 5 to a number 4. Number 1 being the best, perfect, which paid departments don't even get. Theoretically, that should lower your insurance rates. I'll bet it didn't. But if you go from a number 5 to number 6, you will get a raise.
550 big ones.
Yes,
It's pretty.
I believe that one we
Everybody
bought
want
in
one?
1997
Pretty big.
was like 300,000.
Yeah.
Guy could live in it, sort of.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
think, Wayne, if I could interject here, if you guys don't mind too. Over the last 2 years, I started this ball rolling 2 years ago, and there's been inactivity by not only the department, but inaction by our fire board because of, for various reasons, not wanting to spend the money. And so over this amount of time, 2 years the process has happened, we're probably, we're sitting without the truck that we would have probably had in the last 6 months to 8 months, and this is probably gonna cost us $100,000 more. The fire department has already looked at multiple, probably 5 or 6 used trucks that we've tried to get a hold of and are not able to get a hold of. This one is brand new. We have an opportunity to get it and secure it. And so this is really an action that needs to happen tonight if we want to secure this brand new truck. And honestly, the brand new truck versus what we've been looking at used is you're talking maybe $50,000-$60,000 more dollars we're spending for it. So again, we got this money. This is just a decision we came to, and really, we didn't have the foresight 2 years ago to know that the market was going to change so drastically and cost us $100,000, $120,000. And we sitting here right now don't have that same foresight to know what's going to happen. So again, this is, I'm not trying to be forceful or anything on this, but this is an opportunity for us to get this truck, and it kind of needs to happen. This is what we're looking for, and it's a great scenario for us. And again, this is what the fire department members have voted on to get, the fire board members have voted on to get, and then of course we're just doing the final step in our procedures to get the action from you guys to accept it.
So it's us, Ludington, and
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
So we're first on the, we're the first?
Unless Lincoln has already decided.
Oh,
Their
Lincoln
meeting is
already said
tonight
yes.
too. I don't know.
Oh.
Their meeting is tonight, so
Okay. Their meeting
they
is
may
at
not talk as
7:30
much to you
tonight.
people
We'll
and
just
may
sit
have
here and
decided
wait till we
already.
get a
Yeah, right.
update. Yeah.
Mr.
Anyway,
President?
Can you-
this truck, if we say yes, they say we can have it by the end of November.
Wow.
If we order a new truck, built exactly to our specifications, they say it's 18 months to 2 years, and it'll probably be 600,000 or more.
I make a motion to approve the Fall Creek Area Fire District request for apparatus acquisition.
Second.
Motion and second, the board has a motion. Any comments or questions, for anybody or Wayne? I guess I'll have a.
We all get a ride in it. That's the deal, Wayne.
We can do that.
We all get to wear,
Okay.
Our
the
Dalmatian
board
hat.
does, the fire board does go, has a capital plan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a point.
Yes.
Yeah, you do that. So this is your.
This should not
Most-
raise your budget, but if you wanna pay more, I can fix the figures. Last year, you know what, when I made the budget, the village paid a lot more in. I don't know what'll happen with the equalized values this year yet.
It's
Sure.
in our benefit.
Well,
Ludington and Lincoln's are going up.
Jared,
ours are going
Jared
down
has
comparatively.
cheated in fairness.
Yeah, Jared.
But, over the years, the village has increased on equalized value at a bigger percentage than the two townships. And that's, if you keep building houses and so forth, that's going to happen. You have
Let's
more
hope we build
property
more.
We
to
need those
protect.
forest values to keep going up.
Yeah. What other comment was I gonna make? I don't remember now.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? We'll wait to think for Matt. We'll give you a minute to remember what you were gonna say.
The
Is
pumper
it
we were
more-
using
okay with-
at the garage fire, they were having trouble keeping prime in that. Now, was there something other than that? What was it, 5 years ago, we put a bunch of money into this pumper to upgrade the pump because it was giving us problems? Now, we really don't wanna put a lot more money into that 25-year-old truck.
Okay, is the board okay with Mr. Bennett?
Yeah, I was gonna-
Yeah, Leslie?
I just want to make one more point for perspective. If you consider that the new fire truck might last us another 25 years, that's about $22,000 a year, if you spread it out over that period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, assuming you
Buy
get
it
nothing
today.
for it. Yeah.
Inflation's just gonna increase. Buy it today.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you got a motion, the board has a motion. Any other comments, questions? Do roll call vote.
Mattoon.
Yes.
Rapp.
Yes.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Goodman. Hervison.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Cox.
Yep.
What I need from you, Renee, is a letter on the letterhead saying that you approve this tonight, so we can take it to this company and tell them.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And if
Let's have
anybody's-
Tim sign that letter.
Yeah.
Do you get to write the check?
You can attest it for like Tim sign that.
Okay.
If anybody's looking to buy a used pumper, how much that's gonna cost?
Oh, yeah, if you wanna use equipment van,
104 is a
Come and see
manual
us.
even, right?
what?
104 is a manual even, right? Hard to come
Yeah,
by.
7 speed.
Is it
A
diesel?
manual.
What?
Is it diesel?
Diesel?
Diesel and international binder training, so if you really wanna learn how to drive. There you go.
Everything else we have is automatic now because, these youngins don't know how to drive
Yeah.
at 7 speed.
That was part of the motion too, that it goes to the board for raffle and one of the board members. Just-
And the biggest thing the fire department needs is more young people to be on the fire department.
Yeah.
Because during the week, during the day, Jamie's in town and I show up. And all I do is jump in a truck and those trucks are getting higher every year. So if you know somebody 25 to 40, send them down, they'll take them.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you, thanks. Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
13B, chips, or bids for chip seal.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, one bid, from Barner Asphalt Sealing.
Shushing?
Sealers. So there's two options there. Well, there's a couple of things. There's crack seal and flex patching, which is obviously the crack seal, they go blow it out and put tar in the cracks. Flex patching is for those, block cracks. They'll come in and grind them and they put a little, well, it's just like it says, it's a flex, but they're filling in the divot and then they're putting a little gravel over top of it and binding it. And then there's two options. You can either do a chip seal or a micro seal on top of that. The chip seal at 32,000 and the micro at 58. Obviously, they recommend the micro, but it's significantly more expensive. But even on the cheaper cost, you're looking at almost $59,000 to do from one end of Victory to the Liberty, from one end to the other.
How old is Liberty again, right now?
The center portion of it, so if you
Yep.
go look, that includes the entire, or that was bid out as the entire length,
Mhm.
Both on the, north side of 12, and then to go over, Randall and go down past, Wonder Haven
Mhm.
to do the entire portion. The center portion there between Randall and 12 is 2018 maybe? No, it's not that big. That portion is in desperate need of it. It's, I'm trying to remember I don't know what year it was, but that one's in desperate need. If you go look at it, you're starting to lose the decking on it. It needs cracked and it needs chip seal.
Is this the only bid we got?
Yep.
And so the lifespan of these things, so if we did the micro seal, the best thing, do we get more time on those roads before they need to be worked on again?
Not necessarily. You potentially do, but not necessarily. You absolutely have to crack and if you don't maintain your asphalt, it's a very short-lived asset. It's very expensive to go in and replace. It's very expensive to do, maintenance on. But if you don't go crack them, you get those
Well,
cracks.
we definitely have the
Well,
crack seal, it's just wood.
Right, but if you get those cracks coming across them, what you have right now, you start seeing the spider cracks and they get into bigger, then you go into block cracking. And the worse it gets, the more expensive it is to fix. So what you typically, I mean, if you're doing this, ideally, you're gonna see a new road come in and then, after X number of years, you'll either come down, 5 years, 3 years, you'll come in and either do like a GSB 88 slurry seal, or you'll come in and crack it after you've, depending on how it's deteriorated. After you've cracked it, then you're gonna come in and do a slurry seal or a chip seal. You might crack it again, and then you start the process all over again. They don't crack them as many times here as they did out west.
Do we have the money?
Yes, we have the money. This is more expensive than what we thought it would be when we talked about budget
Substantially more.
numbers. This is
Yeah.
significantly more expensive than we talked about, but I'm not sure that the numbers are coming back down is the concern there. It's,
it needs to happen. Could we get a better deal next year? Potentially. Oil might come down. There might be more
For losing the
competition.
deck.
Next year, we might be able to kick it down the road, and next year, we might get a better price.
No.
It also might do the exact opposite, and it might add $10,000 or $15,000, and we look at it and go, man, if only we had done it last year, we would get it.
I don't think so.
Can we still get it done this year?
Yeah, this bid is for this year,
Okay.
The street's 13 years old. We did that in '09.
09.
And it was added, there was the black,
Wait.
I can't remember what it was called, it was added
Slurry
on to
seal.
in 16, I think it was, yeah. And that had a 5-year lifespan at the time.
Do you suggest the chip seal?
Yeah, I do. The micro, is more, it makes it look more finished for, rural streets, or for municipal streets, but to be honest, that's a lot of money difference, and I would rather spend a little less and do it on more roads than
A
spend.
better road. I'd rather spend the micro on a better road.
Yeah.
What do you mean? a
If
better
you're
road?
telling me the deck is starting to go,
No, that's just part of the process of the asphalt deterioration. You'll start to dry out, you'll start to lose your oils.
Yeah.
So you go look, it's a fine road, but I don't know that microsil is, I'm not recommending microsil. It's a good product. I'm just not sure that it's worth the difference in cost between the
What
two.
is the difference?
It looks like it's
micro will,
crack seal plus
Will,
flex patch plus chip seal, correct?
Yes.
And
it's
how much
fine.
more over
Like it
so it
does.
rejects than our anticipated number?
oh,
What's the difference between 50?
Just guess, I don't need it exact.
We're 30,000, 30,000.
Well, we were 70,000 for that plus what we approved last year, last month. We approved the,
Yeah, for
for,
Jackson.
for Jackson and,
Yeah.
Jackson and Truman and.
Yeah.
And,
We originally budgeted
Tyler.
either 70 or 75. I need to pull it up.
Yep.
So, you know what, 59, that's the bulk of that, mind you. I don't think we actually put it going north of 12, but when I put it out to bid, I thought, you know, if we're gonna do the road, let's do the entire length of the road.
Nobody else did, that's, wow.
Yeah.
So Jared, we have the money in another fund that we're gonna have to transfer. Is that the capital project fund?
Yeah, so it's in capital projects.
Okay.
We have the money, we have the ability. Obviously, we don't wanna spend more money on this than we have to because.
Obviously, but, okay, but we have the money, we're not gonna have to take out loan.
Correct.
That's all I'm getting at, okay.
I make a motion that we accept the bid and get Liberty done with the chip seal. Maybe not the micro. 32,000. Am
Plus
I
the
looking at
crack,
that?
plus
Well,
the
It's,
flex.
it's cracked,
15,
flesh,
like
and
chip
then
and-
chip seal.
Yeah.
$59,000 bill.
you have to add them all
So
up.
it's 59 total.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we do crack,
flex.
flex, and chip.
Chip.
or micro, but I think
Yeah.
chip is what we want.
You still wanna do that?
I do.
I'll second.
It's gotta be done. It's like
There's a motion, a second, the board has a motion.
leaving a hole in your roof.
For discussion, any comments or questions on the motion to accept this bid with crack, flex, and chip?
Mm-hmm. Each one of these are sequential. You either pick this at the end or this at the end.
Okay, do a roll call vote.
Ramp.
Did you say my name?
I did.
Yeah,
Ramp.
yes, I didn't hear that.
Rat.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Cots. Yes. Mattoon.
Yes.
Okay, then we're on to pay request for Keller Park.
I think this is run of the mill. These are both, small numbers. You can see the, write-off. They put it in their invoice. It's some for the topo and for some preliminary work. But I recommend we approve draw request number 1.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and second.
$1,000.
Mm-hmm.
For the pay request for Keller Park Brownfield items.
But that's gonna chink away
Then
at that
the
70.
board has the motion for this. Any comments or questions? Right, see none, roll call vote.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Mattoon.
Yes.
Rath.
Yes. Okay, and again, just for clarification, I think we'll have more accounting
Yeah.
items and,
Yeah, we'll have more of it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next 13D, Brickyard Street Extension.
So these are preliminary drawings, but I wanted to talk about these a little bit. Air sent these both over. They actually sent over a previous rendition that was
further off. You see the first rendition, which I think is my favorite rendition of the two.
Yeah.
The second one, they're trying really hard to loop the water lines in this. They really don't want to have a dead end. And they're trying not to have long skinny lots. But it's my understanding in talking with Eau Claire Economic Development, we're looking for that 1.5 to 2.5 acre lots. I think the first one is a better lot design. We get 7 lots out of it. Some of them are bigger, some of them are littler. I suggested the idea of elongating lots 3 and 4 there and taking a little bit out of 1 and 2. The reason for that he didn't want to do that is they're trying to avoid the 2-to-1 ratio. They don't want the lots to be too long and skinny, as long as they're in that 1-to-2 ratio for width versus length. It becomes a more buildable and usable lot. If they get too long and skinny, you have a hard time utilizing all the space. But before I told them to go ahead and proceed and actually start working on drawing this up further than this, initial standpoint, I wanted the board to look at them and get the feedback on this. Like I say, I think kind of the vision we talked about is that first one. But if somebody's got something different than that, we're concerned with this.
So they both are 7 lots, yes?
No,
One has
the
9.
second one's 9.
Second one is 9.
Yeah, it's 9 lots, but they're
They're
smaller.
smaller, they're smaller.
Okay.
And there's
Yep.
significantly more money in infrastructure in that.
Because
Yours
then we
bet.
have to carry it out to lot 5 and
Well, you carry it out to lot 5 and then you loop
you
and.
gotta get 3 in there and,
$500 a foot.
yep.
I,
Yeah.
I think you go with the top one that looks like a T, with the understanding that if the right person comes in and wants a road going back to the west at that time, you do those discussions at that point.
I agree with that. I think that's.
I second.
Yeah.
The other potential is that we talked about not subdividing it or not platting it.
Yeah.
My theory is that you plat it, and if you wanna sell it to the right person, you sell 2 lots.
If necessary.
If necessary, if somebody said, yeah, we want those north 2, we've got a bigger lot, that we sell
Right.
the north 2 lots.
Right.
Okay.
Just makes much more sense doing that.
I agree, but I wanted you guys to look at it instead of just, well, Jared said.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, do you need anything on this one?
I don't think so, as long as everybody's, we'll continue with that and we'll have more coming forward.
Yeah.
Do a motion on, it, just so it's clear.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Motion to approve, proposed layout number 1?
Concept,
Or
'cause it might change.
Okay, it just says proposed layout
I
at
know,
the
but
bottom.
I want the ability to, if we need to move something.
Okay,
one way or the
so
other.
how do you want me to word it then?
Just the concept.
Concept of Brick Barrett Street extension.
Yeah, okay. Motion to approve concept of proposed layout number 1 versus number 2.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second to approve or recommend
Yeah, I never used that before.
concept number 1 shown here.
No, I just did yours.
Comments or questions?
Cool.
Alright, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Alright, let's have it. Okay, we got about 4 more minutes here, let's go 13E appointments. So, this is the committee appointments one that I asked, we have a zoning board of appeals, alternate. That we still have to fill if anybody has anything, anybody? Dean, I guess, or anybody's
You mean
name,
Oh,
alternate.
we don't have.
We don't have an alternate.
Yep,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a vacancy
So that
there.
means I think we have 1 alternate, we need 2.
And there was, and I had this put on there was a vacancy on the library board, I didn't know if they would be, have somebody by tonight. I haven't heard anything, so don't really do it. So I don't think we need to do anything with this, we'll probably just skip over it, but, we do have a vacancy as a zoning board of appeals alternate, and we need to fill that.
In the library? Or they're gonna be
Well,
out?
We'll recommend somebody too.
They'll generally recommend somebody, if we have somebody, we can do that too, but this one, they in fact need a school board representative, so this one I kinda defer to
This one
work with
belongs
Joe.
to the school.
Yeah, So they're working with Joe to find, somebody to fill that position.
Okay.
Okay, so bartender, operators, we got a couple minutes, license applications, just have one here. Christopher Hazen is for Gizmos, Colin looked at this 8/22.
He's giving it a thumbs up.
I think I didn't sign it yet, but it's good.
Oh, okay. What was the 8/5/22? Oh, email, okay, so you, okay.
Yep.
Colin is here live and update and gives approval, thumbs up, so.
Motion to
Any-
approve.
Motion to approve,
Second.
Christopher Hazen for his vote, who had a second? Did you get that?
I did.
Okay, motion second, board has a motion to approve Christopher Hazen for Gizmos. Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the bartender operator license application, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, ayes have it. Okay, 7:44, I think,
Can you talk
The-
about the budget quickly and we'll be done? Is it,
uh,
or do you wanna?
yeah.
or do it?
Can you talk
Wouldn't that
about
be
the budget?
ideal?
He's got a post.
You really think you can do it in a minute?
I don't have anything other than if you have something you want to tell me at this
Okay.
point that you guys want. So we're working on the budget, we're working from the department, but if there's something that the board has said, you know what, we've gotta look at X, Y, or Z right now, I would love that feedback right now so that I've got some of that ready for us in September.
I don't know if I can say it in 30 seconds. Do,
We can be.
I can
fine.
just-
Yeah,
I
we
can
can,
just talk to
we
you
can be a
after.
minute or two
We can be a few
later.
minutes late, it doesn't have to be at 7:45, it needs to be after.
After 7:45, it just doesn't start after
Yeah, so
7:45.
I didn't see it in our current budget, but you know, at the end of the year, we're going to make a payment from the general fund into the capital project fund for the amount of money that we would have paid on the Rather land, principal and interest for the time since March the 15th for the rest of the year. So I don't see it in our current budget that we're setting aside that money each month, and we need to make sure that maybe it's in there, but I looked
I
for it.
I believe it is, but I might.
I couldn't
But
find
yeah.
it, but, yeah.
But yes, you're correct, and it will be included in the 2020.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure it's
Yeah.
included in the budget,
Excellent.
because we did
Thank
this
you.
mid-budget, and so I know that we made a resolution to do that, but it needed to be then
You're right.
updated, but I didn't know if it actually made it in there.
Yeah, so you can imagine there'll be challenges with that, and I think that's why Jared's trying to get a heads up there.
We're gonna have challenges on wages.
Costs are going up just like
Yep.
Oh, I know.
anybody else in any other place, so.
The library's gonna bring forth that.
And we're gonna, to be competitive, we're gonna have, I mean, Augusta's officers just took a $5, I mean, if they're taking a $5 an hour, increase, we're already way behind the county. We have to be competitive or we lose our officers, and it's the same in the library, it's the same in our,
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Yep.
And we're gonna, it's gonna hurt, I don't know how else to say it. Just be aware that when we're looking for that, I've heard some of the numbers the library's putting out, and I don't think they're wrong, but I've still gotta find the money, the budget has to balance, so. I don't think the library's wrong in what they're talking about, but.
Oh, no, I don't,
I-
I know, we
yeah.
very thoroughly investigated.
I don't
but
think they're
we're just-
wrong, but I've gotta find the money.
We're just trying to
We've
keep
gotta
our
come it
people
somewhere.
from going over and working at, Quick Trip, because they pay more at Quick Trip than they do at our library. So it's just like-
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
So, feel free to talk with Jared about budget or anybody else
Okay.
too, one-on-one. All right, so Inland Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District Annual Meeting, we'll start that portion, 7:45. Is it item 15? Is that what you said, Marie?
Just the budget, nothing else is on there.
That's the budget. Okay. Do we have a separate, so we have a 16, well, the 16A, B, C, D, and E, that'll be the agenda items for that, so, we'll open that up with 16A, so this is citizen input, for the Inland Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District, if anybody from, so, Dane, Mr. Zook, if you'd like to come up, state your name and address.
Want me up here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Dean Zook, 306 Adams, here's the ballpark. We've done a lot in the last few years with the pond, as everybody knows. It's maybe not ideal, nothing's perfect, it's part of nature, but we've done a lot. We got that sediment trap cleaned back out, it looks good. They're approaching now some pockets. I talked to the DNR lady earlier today. Everything is in great shape. We want to keep it that way. It's an extraordinary year this year with the algae blooms. That's something that you cannot control. They basically happened when we had, back in May, like 4 days in a row, where it was really cold temperatures and a northwest prevailing wind that cooled the surface water, that dropped down underneath and loosened and killed that algae, and it all comes blowing up, and now with the warm weather, it's gonna stay there. Now, there's ways of doing that, but that again costs money and everything else, and I know people are working on it. And so, my big step here to all of you and to encourage you is that I spent a lot of time studying and learning about the ponds and lakes and everything else. I did attend Eau Claire River watershed meetings for the last 3-4 years, and it's great input. All of these things are important because what you're seeing out there right now is the health department and the DNR are already talking about what they might do to regulate algae in the future. And you as a governing body don't want to get caught short of not having preparation, money, or whatever it takes to address these problems. So somebody should be constantly checking on what's going on out in the market so that we can continue to keep the pond in good shape and continue to have the funds available to do what's necessary. Beyond that, kudos to all of you. You've done a great job over the last few years. Thank you.
Any comments, or anybody else? Anybody have any questions for Dane at all, or anybody else, I guess, as a citizen wanna speak or say something?
I got a little bit I'll add into that too then, Davey Kading, 224 West Washington. Everything's been going good for, I know Dane's put a ton of work in this stuff too, and we hear some rumblings around town, this and that, and pond looks like we're having this and that, but you know, on days that it may look a little rougher, but if you guys have questions, don't be afraid to come to, Jared's probably gonna get into all this anyway, so I might be wasting your time, but come to ask Jared or Josh and I too, because nobody other than us really knows what's going on with the actual harvesting itself. So we've been doing our best out there. We've noticed, been extra observant this year to see what the effects are, so we can help you guys, help answer questions, hopefully help Dane with some of this too. When we've been harvesting now and we get a windy day, that really makes the pond look great. It just gets the stuff moving. This last week, when we did it last week, it was looking pretty good again. Because Josh is trying to get the main center where it really the flow is. But then Jared asked us to do some maintenance on the floodgates. We did that, and that dropped the lake level down a couple inches, and boom, it all of a sudden looked like, you know, rough again because the weeds that were just under weren't up, and now they're up and they're holding stuff again. So don't be afraid to ask us too, because we really we're focusing hard on what, you know, seeing what our effects are and what we're doing and stuff like that. So and we can see, at least we know when we're harvesting and can see the effects that right away the next day. So again, if there's questions or you're getting comments from the public, because it's easy for them to drive by and say, well, that looks like crap, they're not doing anything again, and that's not the case, as you guys know, and as Jared will explain later too. So just don't be afraid to ask us, because we're focused on it, you know, as hard this year as we were last year and before. So
You've been doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a couple comments. I have been almost in weekly contact with our biologist at the DNR about the pond and about the algae growth, and the Public Works is doing a great job, but as Dane said, we got a weather problem, we got things working against us, and so I've been talking to her also about surface water grants, what we can do. We also have to talk about this aerator, which is going to help some too, but anyway, I just want you to know the DNR is very aware of what's going on with the algae on the pond, and they're trying to come up with innovative ways for us to do that and to fund it, and so, like I said, I am keeping on track of it, Dane. Almost weekly I'm talking to Jody, so we'll see if we can come up with a solution.
Anybody else from citizens input? Yeah, Dane?
She mentions Jody. I happened to talk to this DNR lady, Jody Lepsch, tonight, and I asked her an odd question. I said, if that algae bloom is really an animal that's dead, that's now floating on our water, why couldn't we go in there with a bunch of these cranberry buoys and pull it all down to one location and get it out of there? And she says it could be done, but you can't cut the weeds unless you get proper permits. But she said it is possible. So it's thinking outside of the normal could make a difference.
So it's just stringing it up.
From a guy who's in the market.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you can
pretty
do
thick.
it.
Right off.
Skinny, I call it, skinny the scum. Skinny the scum.
We could skim, get a boat.
So we
Skim
actually,
that stuff.
we actually did, so that we harvested, so last year we got authorization to do that, we called it skimming.
Yep.
But you can only, there's limitations to that weed harvester. You've got a big barge with an 8-foot apron
Yeah, yeah.
that you're going out there in front and you're trying to pull. So things like doing it when the wind is blowing, that you're pulling all the floating, vegetation to one side.
Yeah.
So you're stirring less, is very beneficial. Another thing that really helps is if you can do it right before a storm when you get a good flush. But as we know, we've been in a drought this year, we haven't seen the big flush through this, through the, pond, which is part of our problem. You need a good flush to help come move some of that material through. So last year, Jody Lepsky, when we were talking with this, she said, you know what? Because we have our weed harvesting permit that says you can't get any closer than, there's a channel that we have to stay in.
Yeah.
And you can't go closer to the shore, but you can go deep. Last year, she said, go ahead and skim, lift it up, I think it was 8 to 10 inches she wanted us to do, that you can skim 8 to 10 inches and you can go right up to the, as close to the edge as you can get. We can't get right up to the edge with that thing, and that's part of the problem. And even with a cranberry boom, if you could go in and cut it and have it floating, and then corral it, there's a potential, but you would still need to be able to have gone in there and hit any of the emergent vegetation, because if you've got stuff that's still attached, if you wrap it with a boom, then you've got, you know, one part stuck there and it's just gonna pull it all out. You'd have to have a fairly good cut to make sure that you could pull it, I would think. I could be wrong, this is completely theoretical on my part, but I think you'd wanna make sure that you got a fairly good cut, and then you were pulling the floating vegetation, I would think, but.
But when we add the weed trimmer to the,
Anything else on citizen input? Okay, clerk treasurer report?
The minutes were approved last year because they're part of the regular village board meeting, so you can look back at those. They were August 9th of 2021. And as far as the treasurer report, so far in 2022, we've received our levy money in, and we've had expenses of $2586.75. You have a cash balance right now of $60,889. And in 2021, you had revenues of $19,336 and expenses of $27,064. You ended the year with a cash balance of $72,649, but of that money, there was a liability of $25,802, which I did describe to you in the total costs. So you didn't really have that much cash. You have to think about the 72,000 minus the liability of the 25,000.
So it's almost the same. Cash.
yeah, but we got stuff done.
But we got stuff done.
Yeah.
We got the cemetery.
Right.
And it's still 8 feet deep.
Yeah.
You can see, well, I'll get to that. Wait my turn.
Okay. Any comments or questions for Renee? Our clerk treasurer. Okay, 16C, Administrator Public Works Director's Report.
Okay, a couple things I wanna highlight. This year is our lucky year to get to pay somebody to come inspect the dam again. We went off our high a few years ago. They were able to get it from a high-risk dam to a lower category, so we don't have to do it every year. But this is our lucky year to get to pay somebody to come inspect the dam, so that is on the docket. It has not happened yet, but Ayers Engineering is got a qualified dam inspector that is gonna come inspect this dam yet this year. Weed harvesting, we are doing, as Jamie alluded to, weekly. We're trying to time that as best as we can, trying to pull as much of that vegetation. As everybody's already alluded to, there's obviously concerns about this. We're in a very dry year this year, not having the flows. Last year, there was a couple of times where we went in and cut right ahead of a storm, and then we got a good flow through it, and it was just amazing how much cleaner that pond was when you went and pulled all the emergent vegetation, and then you got a good flow through it, and it looked really good for a couple of weeks, and then it went to pot again, and you're looking at it going, oh man, the pond looks horrible. This year, we're more or less, folks, just stay in the, man, the pond doesn't look that great, and it's not that we haven't been removing the materials. This last month, there was, 24 hours spent, on the harvester, removing material. Public Works is doing what they can, and I'm glad to hear that we're looking for other strategies, other things. As is a item down below, we have a volunteer to donate a fountain / aerator that will definitely help in that location where it is. How far the effects of that help, I don't know, but there will be an area that will absolutely be much clearer, and will hopefully help with the aesthetics, at least in that area of the pond. We did go measure the sediment trap. We're 8-ish feet deep on it currently, and if you go look at the pond today, you can see that nice murky algae on the south side of the bridge, and you can see the channel where the sediment trap is, where you have the deeper water and the emergent vegetation isn't coming through and holding it.
Yeah, we'll grow,
Yeah, and so when they talk about, going and cleaning deeper spots, or, the benefits of dredging, that little channel is a perfect example of, if you have a little bit deeper water, if you have a little bit less, or a little deeper water column, you can have that emergent vegetation removed. The water stays cleaner and it looks pretty, and that's honestly what we'd like for everywhere. It's nice to see it there. Obviously, any material that we're catching in that sediment trap is keeping it from going further down into the pond and trying to prevent the rest of the pond from silting over any quicker than possible.
Jared?
Yes?
Just statistically, in case you'd like to know, that whole, the sediment trap area should reduce sediment below there in about a 30% area.
Thank you for that. All in all, I know it doesn't look as pretty as we would like it to be, but Public Works has been doing I hesitate to say this, I wasn't around for 20 years prior. I don't know how often, how religious things happen, but I will tell you in the last couple of years, Public Works has rededicated their efforts in trying to spend more time on that harvester and trying to be more thorough about it. With the help of the lake management plan, we've got a much bigger area in our weed harvesting permit that allows us to harvest out of a bigger area. There's good things that are happening. It's not always super apparent, but good things are happening, and staff is doing a really good job at the mechanical separation we can do. So I guess that's my report.
Any comments or questions? Chair,
I have a question. I think this was, it's maybe a preamble to something Dane has mentioned a number of times, and that is, and maybe you can help me with this, Dane. We can pull so much media every year out of the pond. We have a limit, but we can actually pull.
You can do what you're permitted to do.
Correct, that's what, and our permit.
The two permits that were received last year, one was only for the sediment trap area.
Yep.
And that's up to 3,000 cubic yards over a 5-year period. That's that permit. So yes, you could take what we didn't take so far out of there in the next year or two. The weed permit's the same thing. It went from 1.5 acres to 8.2 acres. And again, from a 1-year permit to 5.
A 5-year.
So that's what you get, and at the end of 5 or near that time, you're gonna have to rewrite a permit contract.
And the new permit is significantly more involved than the previous permit. They did just DNR just reissued that. They did new rulemaking authority on that. And we like our old permit better than the new one we're gonna get, and we're gonna get to spend more money on it. But it does look like the lake management plan we have will continue to allow us to comply with the new permitting requirements, but it will be more expensive and more reporting.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, we can only pull media out of the crib?
With the current permit we have. But we can receive additional so the trick was to stay under
Under the 3,000?
Under the 3,000 per permit, it's a general maintenance permit, but there are different types of permits. There's differing processes in how involved you want to be with the Army Corps. Do you want to start talking 404? There's a series of different permits. For the sediment trap cleaning, it's 3,000 in 5 years. Now, we can work on other things. We can work on fishing grip. There's other things we can do, but we will likely need to stay under the 3,000 or a general permit requirement
Right.
for each additional project for likelihood of permitting. I'm not saying we couldn't do a bigger one. I'm not saying it can't happen, because anything is possible. But once you cross that 3,000 yard, it does get significantly more complicated.
That's a
Still
total
possible
number?
Yeah.
for each permit. So you could have
So we had one permit
You
for
could-
3,000.
you
Yep.
could get an additional permit for 3,000 as long as it's a different.
And we took 3,000?
No, we still have additional capacity. We had about half of that.
About 15?
The idea had been floated, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought maybe you had said this, or I was left with the incorrect impression that, and now that I understand, we would need a separate permit, but we could target different zones in the pond and take 3,000 over by John Keene's house one year, and then we could take 3,000 over by Keller Park one year, over a 5 year.
That is exactly correct, and that's what's being worked on.
Right,
And it's
okay.
my understanding that even Ryan
That's what Ryan
spent
did.
time over there with a fish locator mapping it for us.
Okay,
Instead of hiring engineers and designers and everything else, which would have cost a ton of money, we're
Mhm.
doing it in process like this,
Mhm.
which saves a ton of money. But yes, if you wanna take another, you could take 50,000 yards out of there if you wanted to, but it'll require a lot larger permit.
Mhm.
It'll require a ton of engineering cost and everything else, studies, you name it. But by staying at 3,000 or under,
Mhm.
we got our studies done by the DNR for free because they're already being paid. We were able to keep the lowest permit cost there was, et cetera.
Mhm.
And you could do that again somewhere else. I believe you're talking to
We're
Jody
working-
about it
Yeah,
now.
we've already got, she's identifying two, you're calling them fishing cribs, but deeper holes.
Mhm.
So Ryan provided the bathymetric maps to the DNR, and so they're gonna get back with us and say, these are the two locales that we are recommending. And then what I'm working with her on right now is, how can we get money to dredge that up? And I also wanna talk to the county. So, anyway, cause then it's the money.
So,
Pull it out.
I'm confused a little bit.
Mhm.
So each time you pull 3, you need a permit?
It's a 5-year permit for
Okay.
3,000 a year, right?
And it's in for that, so we've got a permit for that exact location for 3. If we do it somewhere else, you could draw a different permit.
We have to get a different permit, but that's easy enough to do, we can do that.
For the original location?
Yeah, no, so if we wanna come back there in 2 or 3 years, right before it's expired, we can go remove the rest of it. The permit is still good for 4 more years.
It's a 5-year
For that
permit.
location,
For
for
that
the
location.
first location?
Just
For the
that
first
That's what I'm
location.
saying.
Yeah.
So any of these other places they're talking about, they
We
need
need
an
a-
additional
yes.
permit?
Additional general permit,
So
yes.
you can't just, without a permit, every time you can't go remove 3?
No.
so you can't.
And you
remove-
can't go somewhere else
Mm-mm.
and remove the other 15?
Correct.
It has to be in that
Right.
location?
Well, that answers, that
Right.
clears up the confusion. So I was under the misunderstanding that we could get another permit and pull 3,000 at this site, and then 3,000 the next year at this site, and 3,000.
You can, you just have to pull another permit.
You just have to pull it in.
Each one is a separate
Each one
permit.
needs
Yes.
a permit?
Yep.
No.
Or you can go for a little bigger hog and say, you know what, I mean, what, was that Lake Altoona, 50,000 yards last year? I might be having that number. They went through the process, it was a significantly more involved process, and they spent an incredible amount of money, but they pulled quite a lot of material last year. It can happen, it is possible. It's just, what scale do we want to be talking about?
Well, you have 2 sites, Karen, you said, right?
Two sites.
Potential sites,
But, yeah,
okay?
Do you know what the depth was when they dug it?
They were supposed to be getting 10 feet. Not guaranteeing they didn't get any deeper than that, but the target was 10 feet.
Okay.
And it's currently at 8,
Ish.
so 1 year's 2 foot sediment?
Yeah, but to be real honest, that initial year is gonna be your worst year, cause you get slough off your banks.
Sure.
Like, I mean, they've got your, Long Beach hole, you're reaching as far out as you can.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see that initial, long
Slump.
wall slump into the bottom.
Well,
So
the-
your first year,
the
that's not
current's gonna
necessarily all sediment, it could be, but it's not necessarily all sediment. Well, it is all sediment, not necessarily all settled out recently.
It was a lot better than what it was, but when we had 2-3 feet,
Yeah.
before it was dredged.
Anything else for administrative public work?
No.
Okay, 16D, consider acceptance of donation for aerating fountain. I think everybody was here
Yeah.
when Victor came in and talked, so this is that item for Inland. What do we need here exactly? Just the board to approve, or the Inland Lake District, our board is serving that to approve the acceptance of it
I think so.
and the, them taking care and doing whatever, I guess.
Yeah, there will likely be,
Install,
yeah.
take out the winter, before winter. Okay. Yep.
I make a motion that we approve the acceptance of the donation of the aerating fountain.
Second it.
Motion is second, board has a motion, any comments on accepting the donation for aerating fountain? Does anybody have any information on it, whether it was, which one?
Luther sent me a ton of information, and he
Okay.
also, he copied you on it too, didn't he? No.
No, I have not
Okay,
seen
maybe
it.
it's, yeah, I've got all the information and all the specs of what they wanna put in, and, so, yeah, it's in the system.
Get it to
Yeah,
Jerry.
and he's willing to pay for all of it, including electric.
I'm just reminding myself that it did go to trash once, I might be able to see if his is in my junk email folder.
I thought he'd copied you on it, but I'll send it to you.
Okay. Motion is second, there, anything else? Okay. All in favor of accepting donation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Right, ayes have it. Establish budget for 2023 and set levy. You see that is on, packet on 15
Yeah.
for that, so not a lot of changes this year.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to point out, so last year we started putting, some of the time associated with weed harvesting into the budget. Last year we budgeted 120 hours, for the guys to be out pulling. As of right now, we're at 48 man hours, that we've billed, so if we look at the.
Where is it?
It's in 15, that's what Renee started out with,
It's on 15.
because we don't have a 16. So you have the proposed budget there, but
Oh, okay, it's on 15.
yeah, so it's in 15, I apologize. So I started with a no change budget, and actually it is a no change budget from 2022. I do want to point out that I don't see us hitting our expenditures for 2022 in essentially any of those categories. And we haven't really ever. Each year we put a little bit more money away, and we put it so that when we say, yeah, we wanna spend money on dredging, when we needed the $27,000 and said, yep, we're gonna go clean that, we had the money, so we're not going to hit the full expenditure, we're gonna take the excess revenue over expense, put it in that savings account, and then when we have projects, when we say, yep, the DNR is gonna help us with this, we can get this, and this, but we need this amount of money in the game, we have some money set aside.
Okay, when you say you put it in that savings account, what's it?
It's actually not a savings account, we're holding it in common cash, but it's a designated fund that belongs to.
And is that within the Inland Lake District?
Yeah.
Okay, within
So-
the district,
so when-
doesn't?
So when
okay.
Renee gave a report, said last year we had $72,000 with
Mhm.
25
Right.
encumbered.
That was-
Right now, we're at 68,000?
60,889.
60,889, I apologize. That's how much money we have setting it, designated as inland lake money. So, whatever.
After the encumbrance, or?
Yeah, the encumbrance has been paid, so
Right.
we didn't actually cut the check for the dredging until this fiscal year. Well, we cut the check, but it didn't process until this fiscal year. But it had been encumbered, we had spent the money in 2021. So for the accounting standpoint, we recorded it in 2021, but it physically didn't change hands until 2022.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if people, whatever happens tonight, we have to approve a budget and we have to set a levy. This is the annual meeting and statutorily we approve a budget and set a levy. We're gonna do the rest of our budget coming up and this one has to be done today. That $9,000 has been the levy we've set for the last several years. We can make whatever changes we want to it, but when we're done, we need a motion to approve the budget, and then we'll need a separate motion to set the levy.
May I make a comment, Mr. President?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know that we didn't spend all the budget from last year, what we budgeted, but I think that we will catch up with that and spend our savings, because we would like to.
We can spend it all, and then some.
Yeah, Jared's pointed out. So I think that we shouldn't lower the budget. I think that we should just, my opinion, is keep it the same, because we're gonna end up spending it. Because we do want to dredge out those 2 holes, and even though if I can get the county to help us, get the DNR and the state to help us, I still think, everything is always a 50-50 grant. You're always gonna have to come up with some cash, we're never gonna pay for it 100%.
What's the dam inspection this year?
Yeah.
Do you have the excavation as 3,000?
I can make that to motion, yeah.
Yeah, just placeholder.
Yeah, so we can make a motion to accept the budget, set the levy.
Yes.
As specified.
And set the budget as, the same budget as we have right here, it's the same as last year's.
And set the levy.
And set the levy, the
So,
same as last year.
Can I ask a question before you make that motion?
Well, you can always discuss it after.
So
I second it.
There's a motion and a second, the board has a motion, for setting the levy and the budget the same as last year.
There's actually.
Well, well, as written here in the 2023 proposed budget.
Is less, right?
Yeah, more there.
What are you looking at,
But
Ryan?
It's the same bottom line.
It's the same bottom line,
But-
yeah, it's the same bottom line, it's just that you switch $50 from one account to another.
Yes.
Any question on these numbers? Anything else?
Did you have a question, Ryan?
No,
I just had,
Yeah, you had a question.
yeah, I just wondered if it benefits us to kick around at least the idea of increasing that, knowing what we have in front of us. I don't wanna raise anything, believe me. But, I wonder if we should consider, when was the last time we went from what to 9,000? Then what would you go from 9,000? And
It was a couple of years.
It's been a few years.
17 or 18. I wish I could get my Flores to pull up. I could see that, but I think it was like 7,800. Don't quote me. It was 7,800, something like that was our levy. We'll see if Renee's got Flores up. She can.
I don't think it was that long ago, because I think, didn't we just do that? Let's see.
2 years ago, we took it from 9,000 to 9,300.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
We were at 9,000
battling.
total, and the levy was like $8,700.
We are battling
$300 in
inflation
miscellaneous
like crazy.
revenue.
And-
And we put the levy at 9,000 and then half the
We were
$3,000
increasing
in
even
miscellaneous
just
revenue.
$1,000.
And that was in 2020.
For a 5-year period. I don't.
It's,
I'm just asking a question.
The thing yeah, it's a good question, the thing we have to be careful of, and then we came up with the library, and you're very familiar with the library, I know the rest of you may not be, I know Tim is. But we have to have a budgeted expense, we can't just ask for money that we don't have a purpose for and just have it hanging around there in case we need it.
Mhm.
I don't know that we're going to spend the whole budget on that dredging of those 2 holes, once we get to the location of those 2 holes. I mean, we spent 27,000 for the, now, we also had 50 grand, so we had some, no, we didn't have 50, we got 10,000 from the county.
Correct.
We got 10,000.
we got a 50-50 grant up to 20,000, but it cost more than that. So it
Yeah.
was a 50-50 grant,
But it was 10,000.
it was capped at 10,000.
So, I think that we have enough money, and it's just, I know what you're saying, you just wanna have some money in case.
No,
But I think
no,
we
I
have
don't
to
think
have-
I'm saying that. What I think I'm saying is, if we even set inflation aside right now, these 2 holes that you're talking about don't finalize it. They don't finish the pond. If we do
Oh,
2
no,
more
they don't
holes,
finish
and
the
so
pond,
what
no.
I'm saying is, in light of what we're looking at down the road, I don't think I'm asking for pie in the sky. I'm not asking for a little extra money because I might need it. I already know I'm going to need it all and then some. And without grants and, like you said, without using our noggin, instead of hiring engineers at, $300 an hour, we're gonna need more funds somewhere at some point.
I think what Aaron might be saying is, we might be sufficient for a number of years. If we're gonna dig 2 holes.
Okay.
And we had a cost share this last one cost us 15. And so.
Sure.
Even if the next 2 cost us 30 and the cost share is half and half and it's 60, we have room for 2. Then maybe we have a
Right.
year or 2 to then next year say, yeah, we need to start updating our numbers. Because
From a-
we understand.
Just from a budgetary standpoint, we typically
Yeah.
want the expense before we're adding the levy.
Yeah.
Yes,
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 yes.
yes.
I'm,
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
I think Dana has a point there.
I just would like to add to this conversation that it's a dynamic world. We don't just look at today's number and say, this is what we're gonna need. But we are also, a lot of players are working on things. And I have now, along with my friends, established the possibility of a lake management or water quality expert position in West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. What that would do is have a Buzz Sorge and Jody Lepsch all wrapped into one at regional planning that would help every water body in a 7-county area. What they do is contract. So if you needed a project like the extra dredging, they not only would engineer it and find the people that could do it, they'd hire the people that could do it, they'd find the grants to pay for it, more than just the county and DNR. And that $50,000 project might only cost you $5. So there's good things on the horizon. The only thing we're waiting for at regional planning is the 2024 DNR budget could include that position for a 3-year deal. But we're now applying to state representatives to try to move that up and get it in 2023.
so maybe we should go to 5,000.
I know. Whoever's question it was.
No, don't go down. No, man. No, we're not going down.
I just wanted to have the
My motion
discussion.
stands. I'm not gonna change it.
I just wanted to have the discussion.
It was $8,000 from
Once we know more.
2016 at least to 2019. In 2020, we went to 9,000.
I thought it was 8.
Yeah, but it was 8,000.
It went to 8, I remember.
It was 8. I thought it was 87. I don't know where I had the 7 in my mind, but it was 8,000.
And it was
for-
lower than 8 when I first got on the board.
Yeah.
So for it to go to 10 this year or go to 10 next year doesn't really matter. You're going to see that happen.
We need to be careful about doing that without the budgeted expense, to be
Yeah,
honest.
we need to know what it's gonna,
Which is
the
fine.
things need to settle out.
Which is fine. We'll do it next year after Karen gets her 2 holes figured out. And
Yeah.
And we get fish in there.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
it's a regional problem, and if you can handle it, that'll help.
Yes.
So someone can't just go out in a boat and skim that stuff off?
Well,
Just
can.
wondering.
I've got a
Volunteer
pitchfork if
you.
you've got the canoe.
Can you do it?
How many hours?
I'll donate the
Can you?
pitchfork.
tip a canoe, baby.
Or is it that heavy?
I'll rent you.
Yeah? you
Okay,
got
so
one?
the board has a
Okay.
motion and second on the floor, to set the budget and levy as listed here. Any further comments or questions? And I guess it's not the board, it's the Inland Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District board functioning as that.
You had a couple of names on that? Just, just to make the title even longer?
What abbreviation? Ipple? All right, we'll do a roll call.
Goodman,
Yes.
Hervison,
Yes.
Hurd,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Mattoon,
Yes.
Grab,
Yeah.
Aylesworth.
Yes.
Can I say that I wish the rest of our budget was gonna be as easy as this one?
That's gonna be a long one.
Okay, that will adjourn the Inland Lake Protection Rehabilitation District annual meeting at 8:23. So we'll be jumping back to 14. I don't see anything there. Committee recommendations, we already made, one for broadband and then one for sheep group on the cameras. Possible assignment to committee, I don't see anything there.
And the
Anything?
ordinance for review for the sign, was that going?
There's a subcommittee, coming in the plan commission, we'll get that.
Oh, the plan, I thought it was, oh, the zoning commission made that, so it's going to the plan commission.
Yeah, the zoning board of
The
appeals.
zoning board of appeals made
yeah,
that to the plan commission. Okay.
declined it, but made the recommendation to look at it and start reviewing it. So, that's it, we're.
I
Oh, sorry.
had one more question. It was way back up in the recognitions of visitors and citizen input. We got so carried away with broadband. There were the free letters in there, or notes, you know, somebody wrote on their water bill, and then Karen said, what about the pickleball? Don't forget the pickleball.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, who's responding to those letters? Because as the chair of the community relations, I just want to make sure that we don't just ignore that and we just never respond. I'm very happy to respond to those, you know, in coordination with, you know, I know where we are on the pickleball. I mean, we're just trying to get playground equipment right now. We're trying to go in order, you know, although I did see somebody repair that terrible split in the bridge on that playground equipment. Someone went in and fixed that.
Yeah, Josh and I did that.
Thank you.
We didn't know that was there. I wish, you know, if you guys see something down there, just let us know
Yeah.
right away, because
I
we
saw
were down
that,
there getting
so
ready
it's
for
nice.
fun days and saw
Yeah,
that.
the
Yeah.
little kids get their, you know, feet caught in. Anyway, so that's fixed, great. Thank you.
Well, I texted her,
Oh, okay, great.
that we're not ignoring it.
Karen, the simple answer is we don't typically respond to comments on the bottom of bills. We get a decent number of comments on the bottom of bills, and historically, that isn't something that we have brought to the board. We get bill stubs responded.
I just wanna make sure someone is responding, that, you know, somebody
I'm
is.
just saying that we're not. We
Oh,
have.
we're not
We're
responding.
not, and we haven't for years. That's not, you don't typically respond to, comments on the bottom of a bill. If somebody wants to, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but that's not something that we have done. That was actually something Renee and I talked about recently, about whether we even put that on there, because it's not addressed to the board. They're not necessarily
Well,
board
the one was
communications.
addressed to the committee chair, to me,
Right.
the one.
Some of it isn't, stuff
Yeah.
that's
So
specifically
what-
addressed to somebody,
Yeah.
we absolutely do. But, my trash bill's too dang high, I mean, we get some
Yeah.
interesting comments on the bottom of bills. You know, why haven't you fixed my neighbor's this, why, we get some interesting ones, and we haven't typically responded. If somebody wants to, we might get in there might be a little gray area on that. Stuff that's addressed to somebody specifically, absolutely, when you address it to the committee chair or to the board president, those absolutely ought to be addressed accordingly.
So have you responded to Karen on the pickleball?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, you already
Karen-
did?
Yeah, that was verbally, she came in, brought it in, I did respond
Okay,
to her
so Karen
verbally, but
already
I
has
shared
the
it with the
Karen
board.
Strauss has the
Yes,
answer. Okay.
and then when we got all of those letters before, I did send mine out and we sent them to different people. I haven't received any back to see if those responses, when we got that from the school.
Oh, from the school, we're talking school. Yeah, I
Mhm.
sent you my responses.
I didn't get your responses. You said you were going to, but I
Oh, I
didn't
did
get your
email it to you.
response.
I will, yeah, I
Okay.
emailed them. I wrote my 3. Did you write your 3? Kids.
So do you.
Matt. We split them up.
Yep, I got them.
Okay. So we need to
I
send-
haven't turned them in.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I will send you, I did send them to you, but I'll send them again, because they're all in one PDF.
I think
Yes.
in general, ones that are addressed, I think those are a great one, but my water bill's too high. Have you looked at my neighbor recently?
Well, the reason I bring it up is that constituent services is really an important part of us being a governmental authority. And so if our constituents bring something to our attention, we need to at least hear them out, whether we can solve their problems or just let them know, we heard you, you know, here's where we are, you know, that we're not ignoring you. This is something that I think is important that we do as a board. I'm very happy to do that. I mean, I consider that as part of my job as community relations chair, and so I just have to see the correspondence, that's all. I don't know
Yeah,
what's coming in.
I guess maybe keep it in mind. I think they have, Jared Renee, I'm trying to bring the relevant ones, and maybe that'll be the filter or the first step, and then if you wanna bring it for correspondence or that, number 6, I guess.
And
we can
that was
talk
kind of
about
my
it there.
thought process of putting, using the comments on the bills. That's not, like I said, that's not something they put on historically, but I thought, you know what? The board members ought to see what we're seeing.
We need to see what
Because
we're seeing.
you're not gonna see all the same communication, you just won't. The lady that stopped in my office this morning and said, where are we at on those pickleball courts? Or actually, she said tennis courts. I was at the tennis court this morning, what are we doing, you know? You're just plain not gonna see that, you're not here every day, and I'm not gonna remember every communication that, you know, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it's just, I'm just,
But the stuff that happens written, we have a policy that says if we receive a written communication addressed to somebody, that it needs to go in correspondence. So when we see that, we're trying to put it, and even those bill comments, I don't necessarily know that's,
It's addressed to the
It's-
village of Fall Creek.
well, and the ones that are addressed to them, we do. The one, you know, anyways, my point is, we're trying to do a better job of making sure people see it, and then what you guys want to do with it from there is entirely up to you.
okay, Karen's been answered, but the two guys that wrote on the water bill have not been answered.
That's correct.
Okay, okay, so, anybody have a problem that I contact those people?
If there's,
On the
I
water
think
bill?
you can, or there's other, your newsletter, you
There are
can, if
comments
it's
about
something
what
general
about-
that you've been
like
seeing a
something-
common theme on.
I think you would want to mention the
Cleaning up the
authorization.
junkyard and.
Oh,
Each,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't think you wanna do blankets,
Uh,
but if you
yeah.
wanna say that, yeah, this month, if Karen wants to respond to them, great. I don't think you wanna do a blanket, so-and-so response, if the board wants to do I would think you guys do whatever you want, your meeting. But I think if you wanna say, yeah, Karen, knock yourself out. or-
That's where I meant,
Take this,
yeah,
or-
that's where I thought about bringing it to the board, then you could at least decide at that point who
gonna take
who
And
would
then
respond or could respond.
my concern is somehow it has to be tracked, because if somebody does an open record request to me, but I don't have any, I don't know who's saying what, I can't fulfill an open
Sure.
record request.
To be fair, any communication that takes place through a board members are considered their own
So,
custodians.
so just so that they
Yeah.
remember to do that then?
Yeah,
that
because
we
board
have a
members are
policy.
custodians of their own records,
Okay.
and if they want to remain that separation, they have to keep them, and they have to follow the village detention schedule for those.
But,
So if we're gonna do that, we wanna make sure that
Okay.
that's happening.
That people are aware of that, yes.
Might I be
I
recognized?
think,
Yeah.
Just throwing in there, maybe we should be communicating, or you guys should be communicating that there's already avenues for all this. Every meeting, there's a citizen input. And certainly you guys, complaints can be directed to Jared or come in and hand it off to. I know it's easy to write it on there and, you know, but get the word out there that there's, if you got a complaint, there's specific avenues already laid out for people to do that. That would cover all your concerns, that would be directed, recorded, so.
I don't really see a problem as long as the board approves it. I don't see whether there's a problem if Karen wants to respond to them every month, as long as, you know, maybe next month it's one that Matt has a specialty
And
on.
if I have
and maybe next
a
month.
question, I'll refer to, you know, if it's something about weeds, I'm gonna go to Jamie and say, Jamie, or to you,
I think
because you're
every
public
month,
works.
I think every month you look at them and say, that's fine, and if somebody wants to take them, but we'll keep pushing it to the packet, that here's the communication. When we receive written communication, we'll keep pushing it to the packet.
let's start
There
with
you go.
that.
Yeah.
Let's start with that first, see where it goes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, if you,
I like
Karen
that.
wants to respond to the
So
two.
this month, I'll respond to the two on the water bill, because you already responded to Karen Strasser.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do the two water bills.
What is the
Everybody-
response for the one that's more of an FYI though? Like, isn't that more of an FYI, there's been a Trailblazer sitting here?
Unclaimed vehicle on
So now,
my block for a month.
now Colin takes the info and says, I'm gonna run those plates or whatever it is. And
If there's any ones that are police related, you could just forward them to me in an email, and then we can follow up, because we retain our own records through our cases.
Well, and to
so.
be honest, those, yeah.
Yep, we just,
Okay.
Colin, yep. Okay, I got it.
As long as somebody has
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do those two this month.
There you go. We done?
Any- Yeah, in touch base with Colin on some of these, if he's already addressed you have that information too, that, you know, the employees may have done some
Well,
legwork here
they'll know,
already.
yes, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go in the blind, I'm gonna go to the expert, which should be Colin on the parking and, you know, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna take it to him and just,
FYI, those letters are going out, you might find some mad people.
Well, that, or parking and whatever, okay, yeah. Okay, so that's it, or adjourn. Yeah, thank you very much.